Hello. We are getting started, everybody. I'm gonna bring up Mike. Say something.
Hi, it's me, Mike Minotti. I'm Mike Minotti. Hi.
He's the Mike Minotti. It's the Mike Minotti show
I'm
with
the
Mike
most
Minotti.
Mike Minotti. It is the Mike Minotti show, isn't it?
Hello.
Isn't it always the Mike Minotti show?
Everybody tunes in for the Mike Minotti show.
The Mike
Minotti.
Everybody.
Minotti. Mike
Koto
Minotti.
Miyamoto himself. No, Tolkien Miyamoto. Sorry, my bad.
Miyamoto.
I had a headache, okay? Give me a break.
Wait, isn't this episode 97? Yeah, look at this. Look at this sloppy thread for Nintendogs 96. Your thing says, wow. Wow, Sean. Sloppy shop, Sean.
Oh, I can't believe they're gonna talk about Tears of the Kingdom.
Wait, what the hell did I do?
Oh,
96, am I one up?
you are
Not
one off.
again.
Not that matters at all for a thread.
Oh,
Yeah.
nah.
Don't acknowledge
Let's talk about
anybody.
Redfall,
Don't acknowledge any of the ponies in chat unless they pay money. Then I'll tell them. Then I'll tell them what's up.
Oh,
Why is I noticed why are they all freaking out and like bombarding you with this?
Because
which I thought
they
you said
think
was
it's
good.
impossible for it to happen next week, late next week, if it doesn't get announced on Monday, yesterday.
Why?
Because they're fucking stupid, Mike.
Okay, then. All right.
All right, we should get started. I should tweet and then we'll start.
Yeah, it's like,
Nope.
all right then.
All right.
I'm glad Ricky said I can't stop walking around my apartment saying "Poop City Slam and Jam."
Let's fucking go.
I'm gonna ask that. My mom, the same guy, by the way. I posted a picture of me and my mom on Mother's Day. Saying Happy Mother's Day. Then I took her to dinner. She's like, "There was somebody who did an angry face emoji on the picture." It was like, "Oh, it's probably the Poop City Slam and Jamma guy," and it was. She's like, "Why did he do that?" I'm like, "Cause he thinks it's funny," and I'm like, "And it is." Like, I thought it was funny. I think it's funny when you do that. You do an angry face emoji on somebody. That's not a very normal picture, like a person like, "Haha, I love my children." It's funny. Everybody super Mike Minotti. Everybody Mike Minotti. Yeah, Phil, did anybody say they did it? I need to know. What do you guys think? I got a new Miles shirt from the Yeti.
Yeah, check out his cool shirt. I considered getting that, and I'm like, nah, it's a
Wow.
Mikey shirt.
And I got a new one coming on. As a kid, I liked Mallow more than Gino. I eventually matured.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah,
Proud of you.
thank you.
You didn't.
I got a couple coming from them in a couple of weeks now. Picked them up from the Thirsty Fest.
I got a couple more coming in also. These ones took a while because I think one of them was like actually a pre-order. I bet my other ones will come sooner.
I was the guy that used to buy t-shirts at concerts.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
Because I don't go to concerts anymore, so I don't have like
yeah.
t-shirts.
See,
so,
I like the
t-shirts.
one band or one metal band at least where like you're expected to wear their shirt to the show, Iron Maiden, because that's practically half the fun of being an Iron Maiden fan is all the cover art / t-shirt art. So yeah, everyone didn't follow that rule for Iron Maiden, which I appreciate. It's a dumb rule.
All right, we're gonna get started. But Mike, can you fact check someone who replied to me and said Pac-Man 99 just got discontinued?
What?
That'd be weird. Let's see. Okay,
It'd be weird if Tetris
maybe.
99 got discontinued, but
I guess
it
it'd
is
be weird if that
it's still
happened.
pretty
Would it?
weird.
Well,
Yeah, well, Tetris 99 just had like a thing to on.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, exactly. But that's their big one.
Yes, this is true.
Okay. All right, we'll throw that in the
This according
rundown,
to-
and we
This
will.
according to Andre replying to a Nintendo of Japan tweet.
Okay.
that is.
I think I can bring us in, Mike. Are you ready?
I bring us in. This is my show.
Yep. All right. Did I say?
Okay.
Well, I mean, like I could bring
don't
us in with
forget
the
about
music.
that motherfucker.
So dumb,
Yeah.
man.
That's
the
why.
fucking
Okay.
back of the
God,
head.
man,
Get fucked.
fucking big time in
Wow,
me over
no,
here.
the super chat's
Jeez,
already.
crazy.
Thank you, everybody.
Guy
Appreciate it.
shows
You're
up
all
on
much better
3
than.
giant bomb things, and look at him now.
Yeah, well, you guys are all. Thank you, pass me. You guys are all much better than Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, listen. Let's get this show started, so I don't have to look at you anymore. I'm gonna count us in. You good?
I'm good.
5, 4, 3.
Hey, You guys hear me? Start cheering now! Yeah, let's get this over with. Yeah.
Woof woof. Hi, I'm Mike Minotti, and I am a Nintendog.
Hi, I'm Jeff Grubb, and I'm a Nintendog.
And we are the last of the Nintendogs. Today, Tears of the Kingdom impressions. Some breaking news at the top of the show. And Overwatch 2 is canceling what now? But hey, first off, Jeff Grubb, how is it going?
It's going good. I'm like, I just, in between finishing my day at Giant Bomb and doing this, I got my new computer set up, and I got basically did the bare minimum so I could do this show. And then I forgot to install the software for my key light. So it's just a dumb light sitting over there that I can't turn on if I wanted to. I suppose I can download the software during the show.
You look better with less lighting.
Exactly. I don't really want people observing my skin features anyhow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes you feel better. I got like one of those. I got like some kind of an ingrown hair or something like right in between my eyebrows.
Oh,
so
sure.
like without the cover up on or like my glasses blocking it, it's just like that bright red spot right
Yeah,
there.
I had a really bad one on my cheek once when I worked at Kroger. And like my neighbor was like, he was like bought groceries, bagging up, and he's like, "What the fuck, you Grubb? You look like you got a second head!" And he just yelled it like basically across the entire grocery store. I'm like,
That's
"Cool,
incredible.
dude. I'm 16. I'm gonna remember this the rest of my life. Cool, thank you."
Yeah. So those things do last with you. There's still like specific instances of embarrassing thing I did when I was like 5.
Oh, sure,
Never
yeah.
forget.
Yeah.
Real stupid stuff.
Yeah, I was like 8, and I was like trying to see my brother's girlfriend's boobs, and I
Nice.
no one stopped me. Someone should have stopped me, Mike. They didn't. So
Wait. Okay. I don't even want to know what you did.
there was just, like we had a pool in our backyard. It was just like yeah, I was just a little shithead. It was
Yeah.
yeah, embarrassing things for the rest of my life, basically.
Yeah,
Mike, take the
everybody,
show
thank
back
you
from me before I say anything else
I was about
stupid.
to do it, and then you interrupted me. I was about to save you from yourself. Everybody, thank you so much for watching us. If you are watching live, please hit that thumbs up button. We do appreciate it. If you are watching live, you could send a super chat to ask us a question or give us a comment. I think we got a bunch of those already, actually, including some from, quite a few first-time super chatters. So thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
So much. We really appreciate it. We're all doing this on our off time here. It's been a labor of love, and it's been a really good time. Hey, this show is nearing its own milestone. We did the 300th episode of Game Mess Decides last Thursday. We're getting close to episode 100 of Last of Nintendogs. This is episode 97. So, Jeff, that last episode did really well. We should just always have milestones, is what I was telling you last night.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean,
Gonna do something special.
so someone's like, for a long time, probably people are gonna be like, "Oh, I didn't tune into that episode, so maybe this is actually the 300th," and we'll give them extra money and we'll give them extra listens. It's great.
Yeah. So yeah, tune in on Thursday for the very special 300th episode of Game Mess Decides, everybody.
Also, do me a favor, if you're watching live or if you're watching the YouTube video later, I'm using the AV1 encode, which means I should be able to use a lower bitrate and still get a pretty good visual quality. Let me know if this looks good or not, or if there's any problems, and I'll adjust things next week.
All right, let's get into some. It's like I said, something breaking actually happened as we went live. So why don't we talk about this real quick? But this is actually according to Nintendo of Japan tweeting this, that Pac-Man 99 is going to be shut down on October 8th. Now, I have to assume this is going to apply to other regions also. In fact, I'll check Nintendo of America's Twitter to see if they've said anything about this right now. No, they haven't said anything yet. What do you think, Jeff? Is this surprising? Is this not that big a deal? There's always like a bit of concern with these live service games. Well, now that's just gone forever, huh?
Yeah, it's weird. Pac-Man 99 is one I never really grokked with. There was multiple online sort of battle royale Pac-Man games, and this was just one of them. I think there was one that was on Stadia, and I tried that as well. I mean.
Yeah,
Pac-Man 99 I think it had a lot of good ideas going for it, but it was no Tetris 99. So this, it would be weird for me to pretend like, oh, this is some great loss for me personally. But anytime a game that was playable and was part of this service and then it goes away, for one, you are still paying for that service, so now you're getting less stuff for the money you're paying every month or every year or whatever, and so that hurts. And then these things just shouldn't go away. There should be ways for these games to continue to exist. I honestly, with a game like this, I don't know, is that is that preservation possible with emulation? I haven't looked
Right.
into it. I hope it is. But still, beyond that, beyond like forcing the community, like always, to figure it out, these companies should have a little bit more shame about this sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that's right. And generally, what I'm seeing online is people mostly just nervous about Tetris 99. I think that's in a safer place.
Yeah.
It's been getting updates still. I mean, Tetris 99 is the one where this formula seemed to really work. Granted, it worked pretty well with Mario 99, and that was
35.
still also 35, excuse me. That was also just kind of limited for absolutely no reason whatsoever. You were right on top of that. You were a big Mario 35 mark, huh?
Oh yeah, I love Mario 35. I love that idea. I wish they would have kept updating it and adjusting it and like dialing in to get that game where it should have been. But even as it was a fun thing. It was a fun distraction. I wish they would kind of like just take it exactly that and baked it into something like Super Mario Maker 2 and let it continue there instead. But oh well, yeah, these things should have a place to live, and it's pretty weird that Nintendo just like, we'll let it go for, in Mario 35's case, what was it, months, like not even a year, maybe a year, and then in Pac-Man 99, that was around for a while, but it's like, still, just keep it going. How much is it really costing you?
That was exactly right. But yeah, so it's a little sad. Not maybe a giant surprise. I'm not really seeing too many people in chat very upset about the fate of Pac-Man 99 specifically.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll give him a pack salute and wish him well on his way out of there. We're gonna talk about Zelda impressions, but I kind of want to do some of these other news stories first. We'll do that at the end here.
Sounds good.
Of the news segment, anyways.
And all those super chats coming in and ones relevant to Zelda, like Rogers OG. We'll get to all of those. We'll get to yours pretty soon, Rogers.
Yes. All right. So Overwatch 2, which hey is on the Switch, by the way, counts. It is scrapping its planned and much touted PvE co-op mode.
You stay the fuck away from me, Mike. You played Prey 2. It died. You played
No, wait a
Overwatch
second.
2. It died. You
Wait a
are
second.
you have the touch of death. You're a murderer.
Silk
I don't
Song.
want you near me.
Now wait, it was an in-theater offhands demo for Prey 2.
You got close enough. The aura's interacted.
And now, this was actually hey, our friend Timur Hussein over at Giant Bomb and
Yeah, good job,
GameSpot.
Tim.
Yeah, he talked to game director Aaron Keller and somebody else from the Overwatch 2 team about this, basically. And Aaron said at one point, "We can't deliver on that original version for PvE that was shown in 2019. What that means is that we won't be delivering that dedicated hero mode with talent trees, that long-term power progression. Those things just aren't in our plans anymore." So it kind of explained this. When they first revealed Overwatch 2, the big thing that they were talking about, like what they made clear was the main focus of it was this PvE 4-player co-op experience where you would be playing through these story-based scripted missions as the Overwatch characters, but they would have like talent trees that would really augment their abilities, and there'd be this kind of big progression system, and there's this whole thing. And then obviously we got to the point where, well, we had to launch Overwatch 2 with just the PvP stuff, so that's going to come later. And they're criticized for that because without this thing, Overwatch 2 just, that doesn't feel like that much of a 2. And now it's just not really happening. Now we're still getting these kind of story missions, but it's going to be a lot more like basically what we've been getting with some of the other events that are just these little co-op missions, like the Junkenstein Halloween events or the Overwatch Archives kind of flashback events. It's like, these story-based things, but you just kind of play through them as the heroes. There's no progression. There's no talent trees. So it's incredibly scaled back. I am pretty stunned by this, Jeff. Again, the whole pitch of Overwatch 2 orbited around this mode. It never occurred to me that it was something that you could just say, we're not going to do that anymore. But here we are.
Like I haven't had a chance to read that full interview. I was doing the show when it happened, and then I had to feed my kids and then get ready for this. But I'm going to read it tonight. But I wondered, like, do they just flat out and come out and say exactly why they're not doing it? Like,
yeah, the big reason they're saying is that it'll be too hard. Take too long. They take more resources than they have, and they think it'd be better to use those resources on maintaining the PvP stuff.
Okay, that's probably the right
fair.
choice, right?
Well, yeah, it's fair, but also, like, didn't you kind of scope this out?
Well, no,
years
yeah,
ago?
no, okay. I'm saying it's fair that if you only have so many resources, you probably should be using them on the PvP instead of the PvE. But it's not just like, oh, magically we don't have enough resources. There's something else going on, and it's almost certainly that they cannot attract enough talent at Blizzard to keep a big project like that going alongside the PvP concerns, alongside all the other needs of Blizzard, let alone Activision. And so they just don't have those human resources to actually pull this off, because they're forcing people back into the office. The people that there was probably
That is so stupid,
there's
that
probably a
office
couple
thing.
of key people. This is speculation, but there was probably a couple of key people who were actually making that world go round in the last couple of months, who left the second back to Return to the Office got enforced, and then that at that moment that project was fucked and doomed, and here we are. I mean, that seems to be the timeline.
Yeah, it's just really deflating. Because I bounce off Overwatch 2 at this point. A lot of my friends from my Overwatch 1 crew, they bounced off it much faster than I did. And the one thing that we were all kind of looking forward to was this, PvE co-op mode. Like, wow, this is a whole new way we can all play Overwatch together all the time. That isn't going to involve us having to like play with or against some weirdos that we don't like online. Or Overwatch is always so swingy too, and that was my problem with Overwatch 2. It's my problem with Overwatch 1 towards the end. Like, winning the game sure is good. Losing in Overwatch always feels awful, because it often feels like you're going to lose within the first 5 minutes, and then you just kind of play it out.
Yeah.
And that's how it goes. But the other thing here is, again, we had that drought with Overwatch 1 for 2 years or something, where they were working on Overwatch 2. And that made sense when it was like, oh, well, because Overwatch 2 is going to have this whole other giant component with this PvE mode. It's a little weird now that they did that, only to just come back and release 3 new heroes, couple maps, and take, make it 5v5 instead of 6v6. No, I know all that stuff wasn't easy. And I know there was, engine changes, a lot of which, by the way, they said they were doing to help support this future PvE mode. But it does just make this whole relaunch, it makes the decision to not just add this stuff to Overwatch 1 slowly over time in the first place, instead doing this weird relaunch, giving us a worse monetization system and talking about how great it is because now it's free to play, whoop-de-doo. It all leaves a very bad taste in my mouth, Jeff.
Yeah, I kind of can't see any other take on it, really. I think that this is something that I think is going to further spoil an already pretty spoiled community for Overwatch. I don't have much interest in checking this stuff out, I suppose, and I shot this over to Lucy. I'll ask you. I mean, do you think they could take all that content they were working on and infuse it into PvP and reinvigorate that whole stuff, or do you not have you lost some faith?
It's like you could maybe take some of these augmented skills you're going to do
Exactly,
and make them
yeah.
new skills for new heroes. But Jeff, at a certain point, when do we have enough heroes?
Yeah.
Are we really going to be adding 3 heroes every year for another 10 years? And now Overwatch has 60 heroes. Is that it's great to have more heroes, I guess. And it's exciting to check out the new hero. It's going to need something bigger than that at some point to feel fresh again. Something big like a permanent co-op PvE mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they'll be able to take some of that stuff, sure, and turn into something useful per the PvP mode.
Now,
I guess
I did see an interesting tweet. Someone tweeted the Overwatch account, said instead of PvE, just make Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, but with May. And then they say, DM me to pay me. And that comes from an @Jeff Grubb here on Twitter. So,
so it sounds like there is something too in this, because they released this roadmap today, which is why they're talking about it, where it's like hero missions. And it feels like you do just kind of play as a single hero and you do kind of like a single player thing. And I kind of like that. I would like that extended. I remember as soon as I first played Overwatch 1, I think a thing a lot of people said is, hey, I would play a whole shooter campaign as Tracer or things like that. I think that would be great to really expand upon the. You know what game did do that? Battleborn. I remember Battleborn. It was like, yeah, play the campaign or like this little single player stuff as this character. Yeah, let's take a page out of Battleborn's book. I don't know. There's gotta be something. But again, look at that that giant CG cinematic they made for the Overwatch 2 reveal trailer. It wasn't about the new push mode for PvP or stuff like that. It's about this big story of bringing together all the Overwatch crew. That was the impetus for this whole mode. It's weird.
Has there?
And I get it.
Okay,
Things
go
don't
ahead.
work out, but like this. Look, if you had asked them in 2019 when they were just spending all the time talking about this, basically with PvP seeming like the afterthought, there would have been they would not have considered the idea that just wasn't going to happen. And they already came from Battle Warcraft 3 Reforged, which is another instance of them just showing something off at BlizzCon with all these promises and then like not delivering most of it.
Has there ever been a series that started as PvP and then had a big swing of any sort, a big successful swing into PvE? Because I mean,
No.
I think of like examples of games that have tried it. The most recent one that comes to mind is Rainbow Six
Crossfire?
going to like do an extraction, which was like their PvE thing, and that didn't work. Yeah, I guess Crossfire, and that definitely didn't work.
That's an interesting question. Now I'm trying to think.
I mean,
like,
has Riot done it? Because Riot's had a bunch of games, but they've all also been PvP, right?
they've done some smaller. They've been talking about some of the smaller spin-offs. I think some may have come out. I'm not sure, but they were always planned as these sort of small things. I mean, the closest is
Titanfall 1 was MP only, multiplayer only. I guess that counts. That
Titanfall
counts.
2. Like Titanfall, kind of, because like Titanfall 2, basically it's all about the campaign there. Most people, I think, don't even like its multiplayer as much as Titanfall 1.
I still like it, but I don't like it
That's
as much as Titanfall 1 for sure.
I like
yeah.
it. I like it, but I don't like it as much as once. That game is about the campaign. But that's an interesting question. Yeah, it is. There is something hard about taking a multiplayer game and spinning it off as
Like
a single
Mortal
player
Kombat was
something.
like, it had
Tried.
the mythologies. They had a couple of attempts. Some of them were okay.
Right.
like-
You could be real flimsy with this and say, well, Final Fight is kind of like
Yeah.
was a spinoff of Street Fighter.
It's like
Sure.
there's I get the desire to want to do that, but I think looking at the track record of most developers not actually being able to make that pivot, maybe it was never going to work. Maybe it was always destined to fail.
Yeah, I find it frustrating because it was cool and I played it and it was cool and it was fun and it's just there's a lot to be frustrated with Blizzard in the last few years here. So we'll see. But it's also that negativity parade, Jeff. We've
Yes.
seen Halo Infinite succumb to it, and it's very easy for
Perception's
Overwatch to-
reality. I mean,
It is.
I remember being a little Nintendo fanboy during the GameCube era, and it was like, it's not really as kiddie as everyone said. That didn't matter. That was the perception. It was like it's the little
No
kid
one
system, and that's all anyone could see. So everything was viewed through that lens, and it was like there was no point in trying to argue online with people about that because that perception was reality.
We're a long way away from Overwatch 1 being like almost a unanimous game of the year and played by everybody, even if everybody didn't like play it all the time. Everybody seemed
it
to
was a good run.
respect it.
It was a good
It was a
run.
good run. I'm ready for a Team Fortress 3. I'll say that. All right. Let's see. Next thing here before we get going on Tears of the Kingdom impressions is that the Super Mario Brothers movie is available digitally now. I'm a little surprised that this happened. This
Me too.
relatively early. This movie is still in theaters, still making some money in the theaters.
Yeah,
At
still
the
making a
tail
lot of
end of
money.
its run for sure, yeah. But I'm a little surprised it's like already here. I almost don't know why you don't wait a little bit.
The only reason I could think is that it was just always planned to be this way. I think 40 days seems to be what it was. 40 days does seem to be like one of the new standards for the windows, where it's like it's in a theater for a certain window and then it goes to video on demand after 40 days. That's just what we do. And listen, the movie made $1.2 billion in those 40 days. That's more than enough money, but I agree that it's weird. I would have thought if this was the plan, they would have pushed it back. Maybe that was more difficult, or maybe they see some value in capturing the demand to still go see this movie with those home, listen, we got it. We bought it. We watched it today. Like my kid,
sure.
Addie got home from school. She does half day preschool. I put it on. I came downstairs and I kind of forgot. And Steph came like, "Oh, that's already out?" I'm like, yeah, it's out now. It literally came out today. And she's like, "Yeah, Addie sat down and watched the whole thing." And I'm like, "Oh, great, fantastic." So, listen, I couldn't be happier, but I agree that it's weird.
Yeah, especially we came from a generation where I think movies came to VHS like 9 months later.
It was a
longer.
really long window. Yeah.
And it was basically like that through DVD. It wasn't until Blu-ray, I think, where it started to kind of get shorter
a few
and
months,
shorter.
yeah, but now it's
Yeah.
a little bit over a month.
Yep. But hey, so there you go. If you haven't seen it yet, or if you have seen it and you want to own it, it's there. I know the physical version's not till later if you want to hold out for your Blu-ray or
Dungeons and Dragons
what
is
have
on
you.
Peacock. Oh, I'm gonna watch that game now.
I
I'm
should
excited
watch
about that.
You know what? I think maybe I'll try to catch that at the Dollar Theater or something. I think it might
That's
be a fun
fun
one
too.
to go
Man, I
slam
haven't
it
been
up
to a
at the
Dollar
Dollar
Theater
Theater.
since I saw not Moon. What's the other movie from the Moon director from David Bowie's son? I'm not gonna remember, but yeah, that was good.
The one, the train.
Yeah, I love that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I liked Moon
Got a bad name.
more. Yeah, I think
Source
he's
code.
been on,
Source
like,
code. Yes, source code.
Source code.
I
yeah.
love source code. I adore
Where
it.
Scott Bakula was like surprised his father or something in a scene. I was excited about that. Yeah. All right, Jeff. Tears of the Kingdom. It's out. I think we both got to play a pretty good chunk of it. We're gonna try to not do spoilers here, guys, but also we're gonna be playing. We're talking about what we've been playing a bit, so there might be some things that might be construed
we'll
as that.
tell some stories about what we've been doing, but I mostly have not been doing a lot of the story. I've did a little bit. I like pushed through one of the first major things.
I think, yeah, me too. I did the first, like what a divine beast was in the last game. I did the equivalent of the first one of those.
Yes, same here, and it was real good.
It was good.
That stuff's real good. Getting there, very good. Okay, so top level. This game is Breath of the Wild still, but it is not Breath of the Wild in a lot of very key ways that matter in terms of giving you a lot of very directed stuff if you want to go do it. It's not funneling you that way, but it does encourage you and kind of pulls you in the direction if you want to grab the other side of the rope. And there's a ton of that stuff. And immediately giving you like these 4 things to go to right off the bat is like, that's not something that happened in Breath of the Wild at all. And then creating these paths to get to these temples, we'll just say, those are puzzles in themselves, and they have but they also incorporate all like the physics elements that are happening in a Zelda game. And that reminds me a lot of Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword, like, was, hey, we're gonna make getting to the dungeons just as much of a dungeon as the dungeons themselves. And it's like, oh wow, they like made that idea work in this. It works a lot better here than it even did in Skyward Sword, which I always liked. I think a lot of people actually don't, but I always did like that. It's really good. There's a lot of good stuff, but really I think the most amazing thing is that they kind of pulled off what I was hoping for. That this is a game that feels like they took the same map and then they did 6-7 years worth of ideas and threw it all in there, because there is so much to do. There is so much happening.
There's a ton. And I mean, the big thing is just the way you're interacting with this world is completely different, because you have these completely different set of tools where, instead of magnet and stasis and these bombs, I mean, Ultra Hand it's just such a big deal. And how you're traversing, how you're interacting with the world, how you're solving puzzles, especially how you're doing shrines. I mean, so many when you go to a shrine, Jeff, it's almost like I'm back in middle school computer class playing The Incredible Machine. Right?
Yeah, I saw you mention that, and that was a good poll.
Yeah, and I love that stuff. It's like, yeah, like put the stuff together, like make this fulcrum, like pull this lever. I'm like, yeah. And that's like a big portion of this game is the building. Like, that's not just this cute little gimmick. And like the same map thing, sure, that map is very different in a lot of ways. It's also kind of fun to go back to places and see how they change, because almost everything has changed. And then you also have all this new stuff above, all this new stuff below. I mean, it's just it's insane how much bigger it is. Some people are still like doing that. It's an expansion, it's an expansion thing. And it must just be like a pure troll thing at this point, because I don't know how you could possibly say that about this game. It's insane just how substantial this is.
Like the sky place, the underground place, like that is so much new stuff that it just really is insane to say anything like it's an expansion. But whatever. I mean, if people want to look at it that way, fine, whatever. It's easily an expansion that's worth $70 though. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that it's worth that much. I am really enjoying just sort of giving myself over to falling into whatever comes in front of me. It's like, okay, there's this quest to become a reporter, and that's going to be one of the ways that we're going to track down Zelda. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to go. I'll go be a reporter, and I'll kind of poke along what feels like a quest line and go down there and see what I can find and have some fun with that. I know, and then it's like,
Penn. Yeah, it's like my favorite character.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know, he's really, really fun, and he's got the writing is very good for all the characters. They all have their own sort of sense of humor and style, and it's all pretty well done. But that's definitely one of them. And it's like, you're gonna do weird stuff as this reporter. You are going to like talk to this musical troupe, and then you're going to have to put them in the back of a carriage and take them up a hill to go play music for a fairy. And it's like, that's pretty fun. That's like a kind of a wild thing that kind of came out of nowhere. I'm really Like anytime one of those things happens, like okay, yeah, no worries, completely gonna put the main quest off to the side. The game knows it's gonna be in that position a lot, so it makes it very easy to do that. And I'm like really enjoying playing it that way, especially after playing Breath of the Wild for review, where I'm like I kind of had to force myself to play in a way that was more relaxed and laid back, the way I knew I would want to play it. Here I'm just like naturally giving myself over to that, and there's so much to do with that stuff again that it's very easy.
Right. And I kind of like, hey, if you're pointing me in a direction game, I will sort of head in that direction. And I've been doing that, but there are just so many things pulling you to the side. And I like how many big side quest chains there are. And you talked about that newspaper thing, and that's one. There's a whole thing, these kind of crop circles pop up. Then
Yep.
again, and a lot of them, again, are very specifically designed, almost like that main quest. There's things scattered almost evenly, like around this giant map. So as you're just naturally going around this whole map, like here's just one other thing you need to look out for, and it's like these big things like the towers and the new ways those are, or like smaller things. Like hey, here's this guy trying to hold signs up, and you have to help him do that everywhere you go. And I love that stuff. As I was doing the intro, I was thinking the whole time during this intro, because it's a bit longer. It's got a good amount more cutscenes and story stuff in it. I was like, I wonder if Jeff's bristling against this intro a little bit.
Not too much though, a little bit for sure. I think it's weird how long you don't have control as those cutscenes start and end. Like when they end, or even like when you are like flying through the sky for a little bit, where it's like you drop through out of the sky and it feels like you should have control. There's like another 3 seconds before you get control again. And my patience in games is such that always bothers me. It bothers me a lot in more games. It bothers me more in other games. Here, for the most part, after the tutorial section, that stuff has mostly gone away. And so I've been, it's kind of a distant memory. But during the time, I was like, yeah, I don't love that. But the tutorial stuff was still pretty good, because you're immediately getting all these powers. You're immediately putting them to use, making the flying, flying vehicles and stuff like that. So you're already doing such amazing things that I could forgive a lot, because I could tell the promise was there.
Yeah, so if I bristled against it at all, it was after you kind of get off that tutorial island, and it kind of still felt like there's like hey, okay, give me my sailcloth now, and it was still kind of going for a bit longer. Like I was hoping that when I got down there, that was already the now go do whatever part, and there's still a bit more onboarding happening after that. But again, like there's like anything I say that sounds like a nitpick is in fact a nitpick. I am pretty much just having a pretty fantastic time with little in the way of complaints. Although in the beginning, again, here's a nitpick. They give you your pants in that one like first cave, and then like you jump off and there's a title reveal, and I'm like, oh, I must have missed the shirt, because in the last game, the shirt and the pants were together, and it was driving me crazy. I couldn't even enjoy that like really pretty God. Like title reveal and thing. So like I had to restart a save from before that with this really long cutscene that it turns out you can't skip. That's weird. And I just like was in that cave again, looking everywhere. I was like, okay, it just must not be in here. I must just be a crazy person. Actually.
Yep. And you find it not too long after that, but there's a little bit of a gap. I think I remember seeing early gameplay of running around without a shirt for a while, so I assumed it was normal. So it didn't get to me at all. Can I ask you, how do you feel about the way the game looks?
I think it looks pretty good for the most part. It's definitely like, and I was somebody who before was like, oh, I'm a little worried. Like, yeah, Breath of the Wild was one thing. This is so much later. It certainly is good enough. And I know some people get upset, like, why it's just held to a different standard than a Redfall or whatever. Because it is a different standard. It's on a different platform. This is aging handheld tech, and it is still looking really good. Would I be happy if it was like 60 frames per second? Sure. I want to slightly have fun with you on the Bombcast today. You're like, you know what? I played this, and I don't even need a Switch 2. Jeff, if they released a Switch 2 tomorrow, you would go out and buy 3 of them.
Oh, that doesn't sound like me.
I don't even need a Switch 2. Okay, like, yeah, it's not that big of a problem, especially in handheld mode, because everything looks real crisp. And when the frame drops happen, especially when it's happening during Ultra Hand, that's consistent, whatever. It's a bit more of a bummer when it's like, oh, I'm in a wooded area, so the frames are going down now. Yeah. It's not really, again, compared to like all the wonderment and all the fun and just the hugeness of everything, it's a pretty it's a minor thing. It's an inconvenience that I wish wasn't there. But it was in Breath of the Wild also. So it doesn't. It's better, I think, than Breath of the Wild. Or at least it kind of feels like that as far as my memory is. So that's something.
Yeah, I agree about the performance and all that stuff for the most part. It's like I said in the Bombcast, I think it's done in such a way that it rarely gets in the way of having fun, which is important. But it's still it's there. It's happening frequently enough that I could see it bothering some people. But the game I think looks really good. I think the big thing with Nintendo, and this was true in Breath of the Wild, and there's more of it happening here. Their effects work is so much better than just
Yes.
about everyone else. They add so many layers of like fog and mist like rolling along the hills, and that haze I know some people don't like, but I think it adds that eerie
Yeah, I like
dreamlike
that
quality. Yeah, it's and there's so much stuff like that happening all the time, all the little things that happen when people walk or run or the sparks coming off one of your weapons because it's a Zonai device or something like that. All that stuff is so good and so immersive that it really brings me in. And I think that this game just looks stunning. I think it's a really good looking game. Performance could be better, but in terms of just the visual quality and the art design, it is top notch.
Yeah, and I mean, I like the art design in Breath of the Wild. I like it looks even better here. They did a good job of like kind of getting some of that essence of like not pure cel shaded like a Wind Waker, but it still has that kind of fantasy, not maybe even cartoony. You can almost say, and this works really well. And the landscapes look good. The draw distance is impressive again for the freaking Switch, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
So,
really
yeah.
impressive. Yeah, that's a good point. I noticed that as well, where it's like, man, that's really far away, and yet I could see all the details like over there and all these things. So, yeah, I like all the small side stuff. The main story so far has been really good. There's been some equivalents to like the memories that you get in Breath of the Wild and that stuff. I think the cutscenes have actually been pretty high quality as well in terms of both the way they look, the characters they're introducing, and I think in terms of the storytelling, it seems pretty well done.
Yeah, like in Breath of the Wild, sometimes it can almost just be awkward. Like
Yeah.
the cutscenes where watch this fish person have a one-sided conversation with Link for a while, right?
Yes.
And they're kind of fun. Here, it is more interesting. I will say, I think the biggest improvement I have seen so far, in Breath of the Wild, I complained before, I thought the bosses were weak. Not the world bosses. That stuff was always fun. There are fun ones with those here. But I played like the first sort of storyline boss, and it was great. I loved it. I won't just say any spoilers about it.
Just let's do cardinal directions. You are talking about the one in the northwest, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. And I thought it ruled. It played this awesome music. And again, like that was kind of a problem I had with Breath of the Wild. Like the music was always kind of mellow. I wanted something that sounded like that trailer music. And here I did get that. And it was just this, it was a boss fight that was using the game's mechanics, but also doing something kind of unusual for Zelda and all this stuff. It was just really cool. It was definitely a
whole
highlight
section
for me.
is like some of the best platforming in video
rules.
games. Like
Yes, the whole thing, getting up there,
getting up there, that fight. Yeah, it's super cool. It's really well done. Is that what made you like exclaim on Twitter?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's what I was claiming on Twitter was after I did this boss fight. Because that is something that I loved in some past Zelda games are those boss fights, especially at the end of temples. And that was like the weird Ganon shades or whatever you fought in Divine Beasts in the last one just weren't doing it. That just was not the same. But this was awesome. This felt like something kind of plucked out maybe from some of those old games. And there is a bit of that in general where you kind of feel like, okay, we're gonna do we could do a little bit more stuff from the older games here in terms of there's going to be a bit more story. It's going to be maybe a slightly more guided. This thing's going to feel a bit more traditional, but it still is this just giant. You said it before, like, forget open world. It's an immersive sim. That's really what it is. And it kind of is what Breath of the Wild is. And this feels even more so like that. There's just so many times where you can, what's the solution to this puzzle? And I love how, like, if people's personalities reflect in it, you see the people who over-engineer because it's fun. You see the people who want to do the simplest thing possible. Like, if just putting a log up, dropping it, standing on it, and doing recall gets the job done, I'm going to do that 500 times, and that's okay, right?
Yeah, no, of course it is. I think that's I think that is brilliant because, if, for one, it does open the game up to more people, and more people could feel welcomed by it. Because it's the game never ever tries to suggest to you that what you're doing is a bad idea. You can maybe get a hint that there are more efficient ways to do it, but fuck it, who cares? You remember that video that Folding Ideas did about World of Warcraft?
Yes.
Where he said, listen, one of the big things in the early days is that, like, yeah, you can go do the quests and you can get a lot of experience points doing that, or you could go in the woods and kill 1 million pigs or wolves or whatever it was. And because you had the choice, sometimes deciding I'm going to take ownership over my own path forward and just go do that and kind of like cheese my way through this, like that made people feel like it was this open thing that you could do anything, and it was better than like a super streamlined experience. That is what this game is writ large. And also it is like that idea of just that Zelda's always had of discovering ways to use tools. And it's like, instead of just there being one way to use tools, now it's like completely open. And so it's such a good fundamental idea of what a Zelda game could be. And then on top of that, it is that old Nintendo tradition of, and here's 1 million fun ideas on top of that. So it really is as good as everyone says. I'm gonna be playing it a lot. I've been playing it a lot. I'm about 15 hours in. Can I ask, how do you feel about the? This is in the trailers. We can talk about stuff that was in the trailers, right? Like
Sure.
The party system, like having like a companion with you, like and stuff like that. Because we've seen them like do attacks in the trailers. I've been enjoying that. I think that's pretty cool. Like having someone kind of floating alongside you occasionally and doing some damage. Have you been keeping the guy you get from the Northwest with you?
Yes, I have been enjoying that. I think you skirted a line here, Jeff. I'm a little worried. I think some people are gonna think that's a spoiler.
I mean, it's in the trailers. What am I supposed to do?
But no, I do like, you can deactivate it too if you don't want it, which is
exactly
nice,
yes,
so.
right. And if it distracts you or whatever. But I'm like, I've gotten one. I want to see what else is available. Like I know I've definitely, like I said, seen some of those in the trailers that look very cool. But as I bet there's a lot we haven't seen, because the first one I got was one I hadn't seen before. I don't think so. It's like, okay, I want to see what else is in here.
I don't think anyone cares, Jeff. By the way, I think most people have. A lot of people got that point anyway.
I think so too.
Cool.
Also, trailers.
I want to ask you, because I put it in big bold letters on the cover art for this episode. I know it's early. Do you think you're going to end up by the end of the saying, I like this even more than Breath of the Wild?
That's gonna be really, really tough. I think Breath of the Wild is very much a game made for me. It's
even looser than this. It feels like, especially in terms of that structure. I mean, I don't know if you can just go to the final boss in this game. I think maybe you can, but they make like a less of a point of it, right? I'm not sure if that is something you can do here.
Right. Yeah. So Breath of the Wild, you get out of the tutorial area and it's like defeat Ganon, and if you want to, at that moment, you can go and defeat Ganon. And to me, that idea of there is 1 million things to do and there's this whole world to explore, and it's gigantic. It's so big that people will play for, like me, 150 hours, and there'll be several big things you would never have seen. And yet they're like, no, just go right to the end if you want, if that's how you want to play it. And to me, like that possibility is so opening. It's so open and so vast. It's like, it really makes me want to go and poke around and stuff. And so, yeah, felt made for me. Tears of the Kingdom feels a little bit more designed to make sure that it's more encouraging to more people. And by that, it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm here for that. That's fine. It's a really good game. Obviously, it's an incredible game. But Breath of the Wild just really, really clicked with me. That said, every single minute I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom, I'm enjoying it more and more and more and more. So by the end, we'll see how I feel. But right now, they're pretty much neck and neck.
Yeah, and Breath of the Wild had that kind of being first thing, and it was just this big surprise. Everybody was just shocked at how ambitious it was, all that stuff, and that was really fun. I do think Tears of the Kingdom is doing a lot of stuff that just speaks to me personally. Again, I like these. I like some of this more. When it's appropriate. Hey, you can go do this thing now that is going to be perhaps a little bit of a longer scripted section, and I kind of like having that stuff peppered in there. Again, especially when it ends with this really cool boss fight, things like that. And I've probably complained too much about the ending of Breath of the Wild. It's not that big a deal, but if this one can kind of stick the landing better, that will matter to me. At this point, I'd be surprised if I didn't like this more than Breath of the Wild. I think I am enjoying it more. I love all the Ultra Hand stuff. I think that's just so far it has not gone old yet. You keep finding like new Zonai devices I didn't even know were a thing. Like, oh wow, like even now I'm only just getting to the point where I'm sometimes getting those things that let you just actually steer the machines and how cool
Yeah,
that is.
I still haven't seen one.
Like I did this, the small thing, but it was one of like the newspaper quests where a guy had to go downstream and like right by him were all the things to build a raft, and he just built a raft, and I'm just like navigating it downstream like I'm playing. I don't know why everything this game is reminding me of edutainment PC games, but it reminded me of the Oregon Trail, the last bit there. Like, yeah, let's go. So I'm really happy, Jeff. I'm having a great time with it. I think we're going to get some other comments from our community in a bit, but we've also been getting some super chats. So how about we read some of those? So would you like to do that for me, please?
Yeah, definitely. I got some right here. There was one I wanted to. Oh yeah, Rogers OG said gonna start Tears of the Kingdom tonight. Any spoiler-free tips?
Just make sure you do some shrines. Like go shrine hunting. That is an important thing. Like I said, it was fun to go northwest, and I will say I think that is probably going to be the best place to go first. Generally, do what you want, but go do some shrines so you can get, especially some more hearts, because early on things do hit pretty hard. You are going to take some damage,
especially if you go the wrong way. There's some tough enemies in certain parts of the map if you go the wrong way.
If you're the other thing is if you're like, oh, money's really hard to come by, make meals, make like the big meals that you can, and sell your meals. So go scounging in forests. There's one forest where there's a ton of tomatoes. You do like 4 tomatoes and like a mushroom. You'll make this meal that you could sell for like 46 rupees. Make a bunch of those.
Yeah.
You'll sell that. You'll have money. You'll be able to buy some of the equipment you need and whatnot.
Yeah, if you come across a merchant that's selling specific sort of ingredients like milk or oil and things like that, definitely buy it. At least buy a handful of that stuff so you can make some special kind of meals that require more complex ingredients and things like that. But yeah, in general, Mike's right. Just every time you see a shrine, mark it at the very least. So mark it and hit it either with one of your big, pylons that stick out of the sky, or with one of the little icons. But mark it in that way. When you start like moving over in that direction, you're like, well, I'll just hit that now, and I'll open up the fast travel spot, because they all act as fast travel spots.
Well, apparently Beetle pays the most for food. I didn't even realize there's different prices. So Beetle's the guy who hangs out at the stable. So apparently, if you have food meals, sell it to Beetle at the stable. Oh,
that's another one. Pony points. So if you're a big PlayStation fanboy, they give you these things called pony points. If you go to the stables, you can register, and they'll give you a card, like a loyalty card. And every new stable you go to, you get another point, and then you can exchange those points for things like a harness to connect your horse to a carriage and things like that. And it's like there's other items in there as well, I think. But yeah, definitely kind of do all that stuff. Return back to your base pretty frequently, and not just in your base, kind of around the outskirts of your base. There's stuff happening there, things you can exchange collectibles for. I still don't know who to give the Korok seeds to. I haven't run into that guy yet, but
really,
yeah. I mean, I've just been, I haven't been paying too much attention either. I'm probably someone mentioned it.
I'm trying to figure out where I did run into. I do feel like it was relatively close to the surface. Then he is just hanging out at that base now. But you do have to run into him like a first time, huh?
Yeah. And then I don't know, just but go in there, start. Don't feel like you got to run to any of the big waypoints that they give you. Just start poking around. Do that first.
Fish. You might have passed them up. I'm worried. Well, you'll find them.
I'll find them. It's not a big deal. I'm not worried about it. That's the kind of game
I'm worried. I think you should be panicking. I think you should be real scared, and you should stress out about it. All right. Let's get to these other super chats, Jeff.
All right, so let's see here. I'm going to start up here with Big Jimbo Ryan. Miyamoto, we had a deal. What the fuck? Make Pikmin 4 bad then. All right, that's Jim, you can never trust Miyamoto. Not when it comes to Zelda.
The sly one.
Timothy Zilla says, not a question. Also, shout out to Timothy for doing our first super chat here on the channel. Not a question or Nintendo related, but the San Antonio Spurs just won the NBA draft lottery, and I'm over the moon. Love you guys and the Game S community. Go Spurs, go! Yeah, you guys are gonna be real good for a real long time. That's gonna be new for you, huh?
Wow,
it's gonna be different. We might have a good team for once. Yeah, that's pretty wild. I did not realize that the number 1 pick for the next upcoming draft was like such a generational player. Apparently, so
interesting.
Spurs are gonna be very good for a long time again.
Well, hey, sometimes those don't work out, Jeff. But yeah, it should be.
That's true.
It'd be good. It is weird for me, like rooting for the Lakers and all this, just because they have LeBron and he's he's a Northeast Ohio guy, and I like the idea of him getting more rings for his legacy and all that stuff. But
Yeah,
Lakers,
the
it's
Lakers.
weird.
There it is. From Tingu Ray, I never enjoyed Breath of the Wild, but I'm loving Tears of the Kingdom. I think the boss fights, new mechanics did it for me. The one of the temples blew me away. Yeah, I think we're probably all talking about the same thing.
Yeah, like Breath of the Wild, a lot of the game like kind of runs this sort of mellowness a lot of time. Even like the boss fights don't really feel very high energy. And like the whole time I was kind of like, okay, this is great, but like just a few peaks here and there, or like things kind of get intense would be great, or more of that. And Tears of the Kingdom is doing more of that, and I love it.
Yeah, we say temples a lot. I don't want to like get people thinking that these are necessarily like exactly like Zelda dungeons. They are still kind of in that Breath of the Wild vein a little bit, but they're definitely better.
Yeah, like part of me is like, can we just talk about that or not?
We'll talk about it next week.
We'll talk about it next week.
All right. From Uriel Delgado, I'm skipping Breath of the Wild for Tears of the Kingdom. Nothing wrong with that. There's just nothing wrong with anything. It's your life, man. You can do what you want.
It's your life, and it's now or never.
From Tingu Ray. Also, Mike, I ordered the AEW belt. I cannot wait.
Ooh, man, that'd be fun. I've never done that. Does Dan own any replica belts? If anybody would have a replica belt,
yes.
he would. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he does. Yeah. From Chrono Rig. Hey,
probably the big
dogs,
gold
my
belt,
love.
that fucking mark. Excuse me. Go on.
Hey, dogs, my love. Hate thing with Tears of the Kingdom is I barely have any money because I don't want to sell my gems that are awesome for fusing. Yeah, have you noticed that? Like if you have a ruby and you fuse it to a weapon, like when you swing, it like catches on fire.
Oh no, I just been selling them.
Yep, they're pretty cool for fusing. So I'm like, man, I kind of feel the same way.
That stuff's gonna break. That's not forever. Unlike money, which definitely lasts forever.
From Nintenderic, any more information on that Disney Smash Brothers clone? The concept seems like a good idea, but Square Enix developing a non-RPG has me worried. They develop a lot of non-RPGs. I'm not trying to think what good games they develop, but
Einhander, Jeff.
Einhander. The Einhander team is making a Smash Brothers clone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea if this is real or not, but it sounds real. It sounds like something that these companies would do.
Yeah, why not? Hey, this seems like everybody was giving that a go not too long ago. And like Multiverses was almost a hit, maybe, right? So why not?
Let's see. From the Uncharted Wolf, Overwatch 2 canceling the PvE mode that was the reason the game was called Overwatch 2. Absolutely horrible news. Yeah, I think we tend to agree.
I don't think anyone's happy about it.
No.
That's got to be a rough message for them. I mean, look, I'm sure that they're right that they just can't do it, but something had to go wrong along either the scoping process or, like you said, just this draining of talent. And again, when you are having talent retention, the fact that that's when you're like, we need to go back to the office. What an absolutely idiotic thing. It's baffling.
Let's see here. From Fergus, finally able to catch the show live. I want you to know, as a black man born and raised in the South, it really hurts when Mike didn't know who Outcast was. Lol, love the show. I hope you guys are doing well. That's very funny.
Look,
It hurt me too.
I'm sorry, but yeah, I'm a white guy from Ohio who loves Frasier.
So many white guys from
hopelessly
Ohio
white
love
as they
Outkast.
I'm sorry. What does Outcast sing?
Bombs over Baghdad. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am for real.
I don't think I know these songs.
Okay, you're driving me
Sorry.
crazy.
My dad played a lot of John
Yeah, what's
Denver in the car.
hey ya?
Look,
Hey ya.
I
You gotta
like
know hey
Jimmy
ya.
Buffett. Give me a break.
I'm gonna
know.
fucking murder you. You're
I
so lucky you
know.
didn't come here for episode 300.
I know.
Oh, I fucking just killed you. Rogue Rogan, if Elden Ring and Tears of the Kingdom were released at the same time, which one do you think would be the Game of the Year favorite?
Oh,
That's
I think
tough.
that's tough. Maybe Elden Ring just because it's a bit
Elden
more.
Ring.
Again, it has that surprise factor. Everyone's
Exactly,
like, "Oh, from
surprising.
this."
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you talked about that a bit. It already is. Well, as Tears of the Kingdom just gonna run away with it. I know I and probably some other people will like put up a bit of a fight for Resident Evil 4. I'm not even saying yet.
And I think the problem
I
is
like
it's
it
not
more.
going to be, if it was just between those two, it still wouldn't stand a chance. But there's going to be Final Fantasy 16ers out there. There's going to be the maybe Armored Core 6 weirdos and stuff.
It's gonna be
there's
hard.
a lot.
Like there's gonna be people who are probably gonna feel very strongly about Street Fighter 6, and then there'll be other people
Street
who are
Fighter
just
6,
like that's
yeah.
impenetrable to me because it's a fighting game. So how do you get your staff to agree on
Starfield. Yeah, people keep pointing out
that?
Starfield.
Yeah, Starfield.
Who
It's,
knows?
really, it's hard. So it certainly feels like with all these like Tears of the Kingdom is gonna be the favorite. The only thing that might hurt it is because it's the boring choice, which doesn't usually hurt things. Outer Ring was the boring choice last time, and it still rightfully won everything. So we'll see, but yeah, probably the favorite.
L. Grug, when will Disney mobilize the Minottis like an army of Manchurian candidates to burn down Florida? And why is Mike the shortest Minotti? Hashtag state of play.
I am, in fact, the shortest of my brothers. That is true.
Yeah.
Granted, it's like I'm 5'10". I'm like 5. What am I? 5'10" or 5'11"? I don't even remember.
You got to be around 5'11" because you're just a tiny bit shorter than me.
Yeah, I
like
think
a
I'm
tiny bit.
5'11", and AJ's like 6 foot, and Chris is 6'1", so it's not much. That one picture AJ is standing by in front of the like closer to the camera. It's like when they filmed Lord of the Rings to make the Hobbits. That was forced perspective. That's why it looked so much bigger. But yes. Yeah, is that a DeSantis thing? Are we talking about DeSantis? Is that other part?
yes,
Wants to talk
definitely.
some Florida politics?
Yes.
Yeah, that guy's a fucking shithole.
Yeah, he's a complete and
He's an absolute idiot. I'll
just
tell
a
you what.
moron.
Yeah, that's a good idea. GOP, go after Disney, the thing that upper middle class conservatives love the most. You talk about Disney adults. Guess what? Yeah. Guess what a lot of that demographic is, by the way. So
I've seen some Mickeys with some blue stripes in them. So let me tell you.
Who do you think is buying all those Disney World timeshare points? By the way, right? It's not the eat the rich folks.
Let's see from It's Xcore, who I think updated their membership. Shout out Xcore, I appreciate it. Hey, Uncle Jeff and Auntie Mitch, hope all is well. Of course it is. Thanks for checking
pretty
in.
well, thank you.
Let's see, El Grug. So y'all go back to the Great Plateau. Oh, is the Great Plateau like in here? Of course it is, huh?
Yeah, I went there. I did go there. I won't say that I was there, but it was interesting.
Okay, all right, I'll check it out.
I made a big point of it because I didn't want to realize. I was like, oh yeah, like what's specifically in that cave you wake up in, right? Like what's going on there?
Okay, that's fun. I like that kind of stuff where we can just say, I've been there and maybe something's cool is happening, or you should check it out.
That's what is, there are benefits to using the same map because it is neat to be like, well, how is this place different?
Yeah,
I
that's
kind of know.
a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying that aspect of it.
I wouldn't want them to do it again. Like, right, this is probably just a trick you could do one time, but it works here.
Lurkin with my gherkin says, got a Switch to play Tears, love it, but can't stand the lack of customizable controls. Aren't many accessibility options. Is this a Nintendo thing? I got really good news for you, and I'm very happy that we could be here to tell you this. There is a system level controller customization option, and you can go in there and you can change anything as much as you want, and it's actually pretty well done.
It is, but there should also just be in-game stuff because
for sure. But it's on the system level. You're good to go.
The system level, though, like you can't decouple things that are all tied to the same input. You're just swapping specific inputs there, like swapping.
Oh, sure, that's a very good point. Yes.
Yeah, you can't say like, oh, I want this prompt to be on a different button. So it is bizarre how few accessibility options there are in the year 2023, and it is a legitimate point of criticism. Like there's even that quote of I think it was Emron, like asking Enuma about why isn't there more accessibility, and Enuma did think, well, because we are video game designers, so we have a very distinct reasoning behind all these things. He's like, yeah, what about accessibility? He's like, oh yeah, that's true. What to think about that? Well, they didn't think about it, so oh well.
And they rarely do. That is definitely a Nintendo thing.
They are so far behind on that with everyone else, and it is weird. It's just some people, they just don't care right now.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to the answer of like, hey, why aren't there black people in Final Fantasy 16? Well, we just didn't think about it. We didn't care.
Yep, I don't care.
That does it for the super chats, Mike. All caught up.
We did get Chrono Rig new member thing here. Said, I know something's gonna show up for you. I wrote it down on this notepad because I always worry they won't. He said hey dogs, my love.
No, we got this
hey
one.
Dogs.
We got this
You
one.
did this? Shit, never mind.
Because I barely have any
right.
money because I don't want to sell my gems that are awesome for fusing.
Yes.
We talked about that. Yep.
I'm so sorry.
Listen, I'll think about accepting your apology. We'll see.
Jeff,
we'll see how the
please
rest of the
forgive
show
me.
goes. We'll see how the rest of the show goes.
I just assume the worst. Hey, Jeff, I have to go to the bathroom.
Go take your mid-show piss. It's that time of year again.
At that time of year. Let's go do that when we'll come back. And we got some questions. We got not questions. We got some impressions from the community as well about Tears. Get some more Tears of the Kingdom talk. If you guys want to send in more super chats, we will of course read those still. Thank you. We appreciate that. We'll be right back.
All right. Well, Mikey Goes P, how's everyone doing? You guys get the special part of the show that only shows up at the very end of the podcast, but you get it live.
That's true.
How's it going, Christian?
Yep. It's going. I can't believe you spoiled it. This northeast part of the map in Zelda. That's fucked up.
I can tell you I didn't spoil it because it's the northwest, actually.
Oh,
Christian, there's a large difference between talking about like the first 3 hours of the game and like 20 hours into the game, man. There's a bit of a difference there.
Did I do either one? I can't remember. I definitely talked about the 3 hours.
I don't know what you did, to be honest.
I don't really know.
We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not 20 hours. Maybe I'm 20 hours in. I don't think I'm 20 hours in.
I don't know your
like
crimes,
15.
but I'm sure
yeah.
you committed some. So.
Oh yeah, he's always committing
I
crimes.
definitely just walked by
literally
Hetsu. Guys,
his
I walked by a
catchphrase.
lot of things. I definitely was like, in those first couple of hours, I was going south and basically just getting a new asshole torn into Link because I was just getting so fucked up by tough enemies. I found a Lionel. I spent like 20 minutes trying to beat him. Eventually did. That was a long, tough fight. A lot of stuff like that. I finally was like, okay, I need to just regularly go back to the base to cash in these what are they called? Not the temples, but the shrine points, so I can get my hearts. And now I have a good amount of stamina and a good amount of hearts finally. So
Spoiler.
a lot easier to survive now. All right, I'm gonna go get a steering wheel tonight when I'm done here. That's what I'm gonna go find. I'm gonna play until I find a steering wheel so I can make some dumb cars.
Oh, I thought you meant like IRL. You wanted to like play some Gran Turismo or
What?
something.
I got a steering wheel right there.
Oh, that's right. You do still have that.
All right, you're a fucking nerd.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Do you
Goddamn
have
right.
a Hotas?
I have Hotas around here somewhere as well.
Hotas.
I very frequently have my hands on throttle and stick. Thank you very much.
I heard that. Never mind.
I have no doubt you have your hand on your stick a lot there. There's someone else saying.
And
There
my
you go.
throttle.
Constantly throttling.
All right, what is going on with this kid? Why isn't she going to bed? All right, hang on. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna mute myself. I was gonna yell Google, but I don't want to set off everybody's Google.
Ooh, Starfields with Hotas support. I don't think those ships are gonna be that
Hey,
involved. To be
lights and go to
fair, to be honest,
All right.
I don't think the people expecting those ships to be like fucking elite dangerous ships.
No, just keep
I
it
don't
like the
think-
gummy ships in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna be.
No, you get slap a wing on, you get
Crazy.
slap another wing on, you get slap 20 more wings on, and it'll fly somehow.
Yeah. I love Sleep Danger. I should get back into.
What is
into that game.
the
It's pretty
new game that just came out that it's like space exploration game?
Tears of the Kingdom, if you play it right.
good. Yeah.
And I'm spoiling stuff. Let's see here.
Wow, spoilers.
How dare I?
That's it was like a not. Is it
I will
endless
say-
space?
I will say, I went.
Everspace 3?
Yeah,
you mean?
Everspace 2. Yeah, Everspace 2.
That's not
Everspace
an
2.
exploration. That's a 4X game.
Not
No.
a 4X game. No.
It's a shooter game. It's like a
Wait, Everspace?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Everspace. You're thinking of endless legend or legend or
I'm
something.
still-
or-
yeah, never mind. Yeah,
There's definitely a 4X game that's like that.
I am thinking of Endless Space. You are right.
all right, ready?
Yeah. Bring us back, Mike, whenever you're good to go.
Oh, this beer. Take a sip of my beer. That's much better than the skunky.
Oh, I'm
Dollar
happy
General
for
beer.
you. Thank God.
All right. And we are in fact back, Jack. Let's get into our Discord server here where we had our podcast producers tell us their own first impressions of Tears of the Kingdom. We also told them to avoid, story spoilers and things like that.
Now, fuck me
But
up.
still-
Let's go.
Hey, look, I'm not responsible for these people. Say, if you're real sensitive about this stuff, just, you can dip out now. I won't blame you.
Yeah, we'll see you
But
next week.
Tears of the Yeah, Tears of the Spurt here says the amount of stuff in just the first few hours that could be a spoiler is insane. Everybody is hot. I've had jaw-dropping moments of pure joy from figuring out new stuff, and it's exciting to be back in this world, but better. Breath of the Wild didn't blow me away, but this is honestly becoming one of my favorite games ever. I'm surprised how many times I am hearing that, specifically from people who are like, I didn't really like Breath of the Wild. But,
I think Jan is in that. Jan liked Breath of the Wild, but he was
he came
not
around on it.
He came around on it, but seems like out of the gate, Tears of the Kingdom is clicking with him a lot more.
Everyone is hot now, man. Everyone's hotter.
Yes,
that's for sure.
Definitely, and like a lot of the characters that are like have returned have had glow ups.
Even the new characters are all hot.
Yeah.
Pura is not like went from being like I know she was like an old person who accidentally de-aged herself in an experiment.
Hey.
And now I guess she grew up some more and is just straight up a smoking hot babe now.
That's just experience. That just makes it hotter.
Yeah, exactly. So. No comment. All right. Next one here is from Tears of the Navi. It says, I thought Tears of the Kingdom had an impossible task to make players feel the same way they did when they first played Breath of the Wild. I was wrong. They somehow managed to emulate the same holy fuck moments in Tears of the Kingdom. I am 70 hours in and I still have so much to explore. This is in fact one of the greatest games ever. If I'm going to be honest, it makes a Breath of the Wild obsolete. So I push back against that last bit just because I think it's great that you do have different tools in these games because you don't have things like stasis or those bombs. There are things you can do in Breath of the Wild that you can't do in this game, and I think that's cool. I think that it is neat that there's different strategies. Like if you watch a speed run of Tears of the Kingdom, like right, there's gonna be so many different things people are gonna do to quote go fast or to do these skips and things like that, and it's gonna be the same thing for casual play.
Yeah, I think it'll make it obsolete for like Hyrule Hustle. Like the idea of doing a Hyrule Hustle without having all these like vehicle things as an option.
Sure.
Like that's we could do so much with that, or like create like little missions. Like do take 20 logs across the map or something like that. Like you could do a lot of fun stuff with that.
Chaos Buckaroo says, my first thought after goddamn was I completely understand why this took 6 years to make.
Yeah, me too.
If I met Anuma, I will passionately kiss him on the lips and lay at his feet in worship. This is peak gaming, pure magic. So pretty positive so far, Jeff, from everybody.
Yeah, I think it's hard to tell from that write-up how they feel.
Yeah. Diogo RP says, hello, Nintendogs. Tears of the Kingdom is phenomenal and making huge steps to becoming my favorite game ever. Whenever I'm not playing it, I just want to get back to it. More than that, I must say the last week felt incredible with the cycle of anticipation, reviews dropping to universal acclaim, midnight releases, and even mainstream news coverage. It felt like it was the biggest cultural happening in the world that day, and it's a joy to be here for it. These types of things don't tend to happen that much anymore, and I think a game's legacy also gets elevated greatly due to it. Man, this game rules. Ooh, he reminded me I had to get something, Jeff. I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure. The success of this game is actually, it is everywhere. Bacalar mentioned that his son is like really into watching him play, and I think that's probably a big part of that's probably just like all his friends are likely also talking about it. But the way it's selling is just astronomical. It is just on a whole other level. I am really, I was expecting it to do well. I was not expecting to do like what it is doing. I mean, it still didn't quite match Scarlet and Violet in some metrics, but even doing anything that's going to like repeat Scarlet and Violet numbers is just incredibly massive, and it seems like this is doing that.
Scarlet and Violet, there's a game where the performance actually does just straight up make me not want to play it. It's so bad.
Yeah. Oh my god,
performance isn't there. Hey, look, I got my new arm.
Yeah,
Ganondorf took off the other one, but it's okay. A goat man gave me a new one. I'm fine.
It was, but I mean, listen, I only care if the goat man was hot. Is the goat man hot?
He's hot.
All right, let's go.
He's a gaddy goat man, goat zaddy.
Sure, yeah.
He's a gaddy.
He's
I did go.
He's a baddie.
Nice. His wife's hot too.
Yeah.
About that stuff. Maybe I'll wait a week. I'm gonna wait a week to talk about that because it is story related. But hey, I did go to like the midnight release. And it was fun. They were asking trivia questions and giving out rewards. That's why I won this band thing. I will say there was like an 8-year-old child that was really good at the trivia. And one time I did straight up like it was like out of like one of those movies with the doofus. He would answer. I was waving my hand like more like I'm first.
Yes, you beat up a kid, huh? Basically with your knowledge.
The child.
Yes,
and stole his candy.
Oh, that rules. Oh, I love that.
Next one here is from Tears of the Bopdom. Says, "Woof woof to my dogs." Okay, I'll finally admit it. I thought Breath of the Wild truly was mid. I was expecting to do the tutorial area in Tears and drop it. But as it turns out, they drastically improved on literally everything I had beef with in the first game. Better story, better gameplay mechanics, an engaging sandbox, problem solving that just clicks, and the world you really want to explore. This game brings out the best in my joy, imagination, exploration, and wonder. This is astronomically high praise for a sequel to a game I thought was mid. So yeah, that's like another person who didn't really like Breath of the Wild that much.
That stuff's always going to stand out. And now they're going to feel emboldened because they have this thing where like, oh no, I get it now with this sequel that I feel addressed my problems. Breath of the Wild sold 30 million copies. There are way more people who like Breath of the Wild than feel this way. I think we're just this is a moment for a lot of people to come out and be like, all right, I'm ready to recognize my feelings about Breath of the Wild in the way that it wasn't really fun to do before because everyone would just shout me down.
If I thought Breath of the Wild was mid, I'd be ashamed to show my face too.
So
oh
yeah,
they should be for not admitting it. No,
yeah, thank you. Society has to deal with these people in some way.
I do think. I think even that story stuff, I think doing just a little bit more of that, even though I didn't really miss it, Jeff, I don't think you missed it.
Nope.
I think there are enough people who did miss it. There are enough people who actually really do care about having a bit more of like that kind of epic Zelda story feel there. So especially putting more of that up front, I think helped get people kind of going a bit more. Lane Kudik Denver says, how this game is 16 gigabytes running on a mobile chip made in 2015 with no bugs, at least for the first 24 hours I played. It's just the same to me. You know, that is true. It's like we don't say it much. With how complicated these systems are, I don't encounter bugs. It's actually insane to me that how clean this runs, how everything works. Like things work goofy sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
In this attended way. So that's incredible. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I know people are like, Starfield, you know, but I like the Bethesda jank.
I do.
Jeff.
I do. I love it.
I don't. No, I don't want that shit anymore.
Yeah,
I don't want jank.
Such a hot take. Come on. Everyone says that. Everyone's always just like,
no.
Yes, they do.
No, I hear it all the time, Jeff. I hear all the time people saying the same thing. I like that Bethesda jank.
You hear me say it because I never shut up about it.
I've been hearing more people saying it.
So some people are like, it's a Bethesda game. It's going to ship broken. Like that's what people say.
Yeah, well, I do agree that
who can do the better dumb person voice when they're trying to make their point, make the other side sound bad.
Is that the best? Like, yeah. Okay. I guess it's pretty cool that everything sucks. Actually,
the ship broken game.
Oh, it's actually great. Like almost simultaneously, Nick Turbo in chat said Mike is wrong, and Cast Coder said Mike is right.
I don't want to hear it, chat. I don't want to hear if you think it's wrong.
The Starfield discourse is going to be fun, isn't it? Everyone look forward to that. You butts out here. All right. One up versus CPU says, hello, Mike Zeldawood Minotti and Zeph. Zelda is the only mommy I need on Mother's Day. Grubb. I don't know if Zelda's a mommy. That other person, definitely a mommy. Zelda's almost more like, no, I shouldn't be weird. I shouldn't say Zelda's like a stepsister.
yeah. I was gonna ask if you're gonna do the time you were like talking about stepsisters or whatever. Well, I forget what you said, but basically that. Yeah.
I do like her. I like talking about video game characters' appearances is always a little weird, but I like her new haircut a lot more. But I like shorter hair, Jeff. I do.
Cool. Glad
how do you feel about her appearance?
I'm ready to talk about how I feel about how you feel about her appearance. I think all of the characters are looking very good. They did a great across the board. The designs have been
diplomatic of you.
Yeah, absolutely, really good looking stuff.
Impa's looking like a hot mess.
Impa. That's an old bitch.
Did you get the memo? We're all hot now.
Yeah, get on board. What are you doing?
What the hell?
You done fucked up, Impa.
The main thing I keep thinking is that the overworld is mostly unrecognizable. A low rule or dark world comparison doesn't do it justice. I also just find everything about the sign and quest lines hilarious. I just did the Zora dungeon and it was definitely not traditional, but it was much better than anything in Breath of the Wild. By the way, it's AG Anuma, not IG Anuma.
Say it again.
It's a Star Wars. It's AG Anuma, not IG
Anuma. I've heard that before. That's
I just always call him Anuma because I forget how to.
Yeah, me too. I should just do that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my bad. I'm excited to go to all these other kind of, again, like the Divine Beast equivalents. I did the one, and it was my favorite part of the game so far. So I'm very excited to do the other ones, but not so much that I have to rush over there, which is really nice. Yeah, that's the other thing, and it helps. I didn't, I played this game when it came out. I loved it a lot, but I didn't play it again until we did Hyrule Hustle. And if it wasn't for that, I would, I don't really remember that much about the last map except for some of the like big things. Like I knew the cardinal directions that the 4 different peoples were in, things like that. So it is like hard for me to say, like, is this part that different? There's some things absolutely it's easy to tell.
Everything's at the very least remixed. At the
Yes.
very least.
Beat Famer says, I died because my tank that had a wall of flame and beam emitters on it got activated while standing in front of it. 1 out of 10 game. Yeah. Well, at least he didn't insult me personally this time. Good job, Beef.
I've died in so many dumb, funny ways.
Yeah.
I've been like trying to save clips of it, but it's like, that's some of my favorite stuff.
I think everybody dies that first time they use a bomb arrow because the blast radius is like
so
5 times
huge.
bigger than you.
It's so huge. I think you're right. God, that rules
It's
actually.
incredible. I think it's almost like intentional.
I think it's
almost like-
intentional.
It's like a RoboCop getting killed by the giant drill machine.
Yes,
moment.
exactly. But maybe a little bit more well designed, just a touch.
Well, there's checkpoints. For
Yeah,
one,
well.
so, Mr. Bower says, remember how this game was supposed to release in 2022? But as Miyamoto-san said, oh, how dare you? Continues. I feel like the development team must have spent the last half year just polishing this game to get it where it is. The new mechanics are a lot of fun, and Ultra Hand is more intuitive to use than I expected it to be at first. I spent most of my time just exploring the world and going towards anything interesting I see, which, even after having played through Breath of the Wild again early this year, is still exciting. Honestly, it's crazy to think that they were able to strike gold twice like this. And that makes me think, Jeff, this is the most obnoxious thing in the world to already be thinking about the next Zelda. But it is interesting because I think there is an expectation that it's going to have to be perhaps a little bit more different, at least like in some ways. It doesn't be everything. I think that, and Anuma said it as much, this is the template. We have, when Ocarina of Time hit, that was the template for a good while. The Breath of the Wild template is going to be the template for a while. I do think the next one will be maybe a different art style, almost certainly a completely new map this time. Probably not this same exact sort of timeline thing, but this same Link, this same Zelda, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that the way that they talk about it so far, like when they have been asked about it a couple times, hey, what's the future like? And Fujibayashi is immediately like, I have ideas. And so, whoa, okay. And they said a lot of the stuff is like, yeah, we have a lot of stuff that we cut as well. And a lot of those things ended up from Breath of the Wild into this game. But we have that again. And we're already kind of thinking about what to do with that stuff. And it's like, oh, God, yeah, let's fucking go. They seem to be on such a heater with this stuff that I'm here for it. And if they do another one of these 6 years from now that has a similar level of progress and a changed map, I think you're right. They will have to change things up. But I think on new hardware, imagine what they could do. They're doing this on a 2015 mobile chip. Like if we get a real CPU in this next thing, the amount of physics and that they could mess around with could be like 10x. And okay, let's see what they can do.
Antonioni, just the super chat I want to read real quick. He said, have you tried to go back to the depths beneath Hyrule Castle and destroy those boulders blocking the murals that you see in the opening? Remember, you couldn't see some of them? I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I have been like, I'll get back there eventually, and then I don't ever do that. I should just go do that.
I want to go do that because now I'm like, what are they hiding there? That's cool. And I love this aspect in Breath of the Wild, and I love it here of like this schoolyard talk. Like, hey, have you done this?
Don't
you should go do
this
that because there's so much in it.
There's so much.
Everybody's gonna have different experiences, so it is cool to say, hey, maybe you should go back to the Great Plateau, or hey, maybe you should go over on this part of the map and do this thing. I love that. That's awesome. Let's see. Next one is from Velocity Prime, who says, this game kind of hurts my head to think about. The sheer mechanical density and gargantuan scope of the world are kind of unparalleled. And the amount of workable systems overlapping and interacting with each other feels completely unique for a AAA experience. I don't know if this will be Game of the Year. But my favorite thing in games so far this year is getting shot into the sky from a tower and then seamlessly diving down a giant pit into the underworld. Incredible stuff. Again, yeah, it's just insane this stuff works, again, on this ancient hardware. It's like I even forget about some of the stuff that is still here. Like that physics system that we all freaked out about in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, the chemistry and physics system, yeah.
Yes, it's like, chemistry is what I really meant. That's just like still here.
Yep.
You could still do stuff like make a bokoblin get struck by lightning if it's storming and things like that.
Yeah, the fire
that's-
spreads in a way that's pretty realistic, and yeah.
It's awesome. The Jat in the hat says, I'm probably the minority people who are skipping out on this one for now, but I asked my sister what she thinks, and in her words, it's heat.
Is your sister cool? Your sister sounds
Sister's
cool.
His sister must have also just saw Pura. Chuck 1991 says, if we're using the same map from Breath of the Wild is the price we pay for all the new mechanics, characters, and story they added, then I am sold. Expectations exceeded. I also like some of the stuff that comes from being this direct sequel. Like, I like kind of going around people like, oh, hey, it's Link.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, everyone knows you. Everyone's got like a comment about like what you've been up to or what Zelda's been doing. It's like, yeah, that it makes it feel like a real continuation and like part of the world.
Just imagine 10 years or 15 years from now when they like have to remaster both these games and sell them in a bundle together and all that stuff. It's because these games are going to always, it's weird now because it seems like this is like the new thing. Like in the future, these two games are going to be tied to each other, kind of similar to like a Mario Galaxy 1 and a Galaxy 2 kind of way. That's almost how I think about it, even though like mechanically there are more differences here.
Yep.
Yeah. Even getting like Galaxy 1 and 2, it's like, which one? I like one a little bit more than the other, but it's pretty darn close. Let's see. Bench JC says, hey, dogs, this game is mind-blowing. It sucks that Breath of the Wild is honestly now obsolete again. Don't necessarily agree. He says, I don't know if I can go back.
Sorry, my mic broke. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to interrupt. My bad. Keep going.
Well, you are interrupting.
Well, now I am because I've fixed it, but my bad.
He says, I don't know if I can go back because how amazing Tears of the Kingdom is. Honestly, I have no words for how good it is. I'm a little over 30 hours in and feel like I still haven't scratched the surface of all this game has to offer. This has the makings to be the best Nintendo game of all time and one of the best games of all time. Yeah, it's like, it is funny to know I'll probably play this game for 80 hours or 90 hours and beat it and still do like a third of what's in this game. It's insane.
Yeah, it's constantly overwhelming in terms of the scope.
Yeah, it is just incredible. Shoji Koto says, hey, dog. Oh, wait, no. Ezipsis says, sorry, Shoji, I'll be right back. Ezipsis says, hello, Mike, Boomer Minotti, and Jeff Groomer Grubb. Oh, no.
Wow, okay.
The moment I put a hook on top of a minecart, I knew this was going to be special. I didn't expect that I would love this more than Breath of the Wild, but I know now that I'll never be able to go back to Breath of the Wild after this. As ridiculous as it sounds, Breath of the Wild will only just feel restrictive now. I bet that's going to cool down a little bit eventually. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Breath of the Wild is obsolete." Again, especially like in that 10 years time frame. I bet pretty like within a year we'll hear those takes of actually Breath of the Wild was better because of this or that. I think it's going to be very close.
Yeah, I think it's going to. You know how I always like, oh, I want to guess against my instincts because I feel like I'm in the minority. I think with Breath of the Wild, like I was saying, that's for me. I definitely feel like that is going to be a minority opinion for a while. I think you're right that it'll come around, but I think it's just because it appeals to a very certain mindset, and I definitely think Tears of the Kingdom is designed to be more broadly appealing. It just is, and it succeeds at that.
Shows you well, and it's also more refined. And you specifically say sometimes you like things that are less refined. Right?
Yeah. Yes, I think Breath of the Wild does feel messier, and again, I think that fits with me. Yes, absolutely.
All right, Shoji Koda for real now says, "Hey doggos, I'm having an extremely awesome time with this game so far. It's beyond satisfying to either brute force a solution or feel like I'm completely breaking the game in unintended ways. 70 hours in, and I feel like I've only just begun to scratch the surface of it. I was worried about how much it would feel samey to Breath of the Wild." If it would rise above it to truly stand on its own, and if it would have many of the same pitfalls as its predecessor. But I'm pleasantly surprised to see that there are no issues with any of that from what I can tell so far. And to top it all off, what's most impressive is that it has managed to do all of this on an aging mobile chipset from nearly a decade ago. I'm glad that's the word I stumbled over was chipset.
I'm actually surprised that it's so universally liked.
Yeah, I thought there would be some. We still have a ways to go here.
Yeah. And if you are sitting back, if you've played 10 hours and you're like, actually, I don't think this is much of an evolution, let us hear it. I want to hear the dissenting opinions.
It's fine. We won't actually be mad at you. It's okay.
Yeah. I'm enjoying it too much. We're good.
Who knows? Maybe it's actually just the greatest game of all time.
Maybe that's what it is. Yep.
Maybe that's just it. Dampiel says, I have open world fatigue after having Elden Ring in my rotation for the past 15 months, so I will get Tears of the Kingdom some other time. That's fair. I did, however, start Metroid Prime Remaster over the weekend. I'm enjoying myself quite a bit. It's my second Metroid game after Dread, and so far the franchise is 2 for 2 for me.
Fucking hate it, yeah.
Kyle's theme was robbed. Maybe it was. Hey, nothing wrong with man. You know, I mean, I was teasing you earlier, but I have been playing my Switch almost every night this year, Jeff. And I know it's aging. I know it has problems, but you know, between Metroid Prime, now this, I was playing all those pixel remasters.
You know, the OLED
it's-
screen is so nice. It's
Yeah.
a good system still. Obviously, when they release a follow up, it's going to be great. And obviously, it's old in a lot of ways, and a lot of games run bad on it. But like the biggest example that we point to, Pokemon, is not really the Switch's fault. But yeah, and then you play a game like this, you know, like this is what it can be in the hands of someone responsible. But yeah, whatever. Of course, you're right. When they release a Switch 2, I will be there day one buying 3.
Tears of the Jedi says, Tears of the Kingdom is a remarkable feat of engineering that they're able to make a game this dense on an old system. The fact that you can seamlessly go from the sky to the ground to the depths with no loading screens is some black magic shit. It is. I actually don't know how they do that.
Yep.
The other impressive thing is how open the game is with letting you solve the puzzles and challenges however you want. The game constantly makes you feel like a genius when the insane contraption you made actually works and actively encourages you to come up with whatever wacky solutions you have to accomplish your goals. Nintendo succeeded in making their own Minecraft mixed with Skyrim and Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts in the Zelda image. Yeah, it's just incredible. I wonder if the nuts and bolts people are like a little bitter.
Yeah, I just retweeted this where it's like a guy, a handsome guy at work, giving a car made in Zelda over to a lady at work, and she says, "Oh, you're so sweet." And then a nerd gives her a car made in nuts and bolts, and she's like, "Hello, human resources."
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah,
and it's like,
God.
yeah, a little bit. I think after I beat this game, I'm going to play all the way through Nuts and Bolts, which I've
That'd be fine.
I've played a bunch of it here and there, never more than the first handful of stages. And boy, that thing runs real nice on the Xbox Series X these days with backwards compatibility. So I think I'm going to get in there and actually play through that. I always enjoyed that game. I always enjoyed it, but I'm going to give it a real go.
That'd be fun. You know
Yeah.
what? I don't know if you want to make content from it, or if you don't.
No, I
want-
think we
you know,
should. I think let's just
Yeah.
and that might be a good one where we just like play through it pretty quickly. So maybe we could like do a couple of streams back to back.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Because my suspicion is that while that building mechanics would be really cool, it's going to be a bit less interesting how you use it.
Yes.
Sort of my suspicion.
I think it's
we'll see.
Right. I think it's going to be yes. I think it's going to be limited in terms of the applications, and not as I think it'll be equally empowering in terms of what you could build, and maybe even more empowering in some ways. But then what you can actually do with it after that is probably going to be a little bit more limited.
We hear some more nuts and bolts talk here from Screaming Madden, who says, I know Tears of the Kingdom is getting comparisons to Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, but to me, Nuts and Bolts was Rare's attempt at making a Wallace and Gromit game, and now Nintendo is taking a crack at it. Wallace and Gromit are known for crafting wacky contraptions.
Yeah.
The Ultra Hand ability makes me feel like I made some crazy stuff that somehow works. In one shrine, I made a boat shaped like a pod racer, and I succeeded. Ooh, that's cool. Ooh, that's cool. I like that. The fuse ability is great as I can fuse a shield with a minecart to create a skateboard. I'm enjoying this toolset more than Breath of the Wild. Villain Max says, while Ascend is great overall, using it rapidly for platforming feels bad, like a series of loading screens. Hey, we got our first negative-ish one.
There it is. Man, Ascend is incredible. I mean, I think that's my biggest surprise is the abilities that I'm like popping for. Obviously, Ultra Hand is the GOAT. But Ascend, every time I'm like, oh yeah, fucking Ascend. I could just do that. I got stuck down in a hole in the ground. I'm like, oh, I found a hole in the ground. I went down there and I'm like, how do I get out of here? And I'm like trying to build a fire so I can fly out. And as soon as I got on the surface, I remembered, oh yeah, I had Ascend and I could have just done that.
I have done that a couple of times. Like,
Yeah.
wait,
But it's
that should have been easy.
every time I use it to like get up to some place where it's like, that was great. That feels really good. I think overall it feels good. Maybe if I'm doing it back to back to back, I understand what he means, like getting stuck in the thing and like actually having to watch Link swim
Yeah.
through the stuff. But I still think it's cool.
I haven't really had to do it back to back to back like that too much. One of the coolest things with it, and this was in that trailer too, is that sort of world boss that has the kind of like little fortress on top of him. So you have to use Ascend to get up there and attack his minions in the weak point. That is super cool.
Yep.
I love that.
I love that too.
Haas says, I think the best compliment I can give this game is it's bringing out the creative side of me, though not orbital space level creativity.
Have you seen that orbital space laser?
Yes, I did see that. That's insane.
That's so incredible. Yeah,
see people
I don't
make,
even understand like how they're getting it to target the thing so perfectly, but whatever.
I see people making like multi-stage like missiles and stuff like
Mhm.
getting really high. It's incredible. It's like even like as much I've been playing, I've barely gone back up to like the higher elevation areas. Like I've barely explored much
Whenever
more
I
of that
see a
since I went
rock
back.
fall
Yeah.
from the sky right in front of me, I will usually do the reverse time thing, ride it up and see what's up there. Because usually it's like 1 or 2 islands, and there's just a treasure chest up there.
I should probably do more of that even.
Yeah.
Vision 49 says Ultra Hand has rightfully been recognized as the star of the show, but I just want to highlight the fuse mechanic. After close to 40 hours, it's still offering a level of flexibility in how I approach encounters that very few games can come close to, even among games that market themselves on variety. I saw someone on Twitter say once that the only knock against Star Trek The Next Generation is that it isn't the original. I kind of feel like that's what's true of Tears of the Kingdom. Breath of the Wild is my favorite game of all time, but Tears of the Kingdom is well on its way into claiming that spot. Shame that GQ list is out of date already. That's funny. Yeah, Fuse is also great. And, I haven't seen people complaining about weapon degradation this time. Now, I don't know if just because it's an old complaint at this point, or I wonder if Fuse solved that problem for people.
I think that there's less focus on combat. There's
is.
still a
That's
lot
true.
of combat, but there's so much else to do that there's not a focus on combat, right? Like the way
I do
that
find
you
myself just running past enemy camps a lot, not even bothering with it. 'Cause I'm
right,
almost
but in
bored,
Breath of
just
the Wild,
doing
one of the
something
ways you
else.
expressed yourself with the creativity tools was, okay, I'm gonna set up this contraption over here, and I'm gonna start the battle by pushing a big rock into them, and then they're gonna run in this direction, and I'll be waiting for them with all this stuff. And it's like you could still do that here, but also you could do a million other things. So I think that's a big part of it.
Jamie says, really enjoying the quality of life improvements. Being able to discard a weapon whenever you open a chest with a full inventory, something that was seriously appreciated, especially in the early game when you have so few slots to begin with. Or if you're Jeff and still have so few slots because you can't find the giant Korak guy. And performance is fine for me on a launch Switch.
Is that what's gonna get me more slots? All right, I gotta find that guy.
Yeah, isn't that how it worked before? Yeah, you better
Probably.
find that guy.
I'm not gonna remember all these tiny little details. What
You
am
better
I?
find that guy. How you can dive from the sky to the ground without a loading screen or mark distant objects is nothing short of a miracle. This is very quickly becoming my new desert island game.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, G-Man Sir says, hey, Jeff, fused with pure alpha male energy grub, and Mike inferior than Beef Hammer. Wow.
Jeez.
This is Beef Hammer's alt. Is that
I
what
think
G-Man
so.
Sir has
Yeah,
been this whole
I think
time?
that's what we're seeing. Yeah.
I want to nominate Tears of the Kingdom for the best tutorial area of the generation. This entire game is sucking and fucking me hard, are his words. Thank you, G-Man, sir. I mean,
Again,
it
it's
is-
so hard to parse what these people really feel about the game.
Yeah, it is really good. Like, it does do an amazing job of just teaching you these mechanics. Like, I love that part where, yeah, you like use your Ultra Hand to put a minecart on the rails and put a fan on it, blah blah blah. And then here's an area where, one of the rails is broken. Well, how are you gonna approach that? And like the easiest thing to do is to put that hook on the cart and have it dangle instead. You could build a more complicated contraption. Also, somebody basically made like a roller coaster out of it that was so long that it didn't matter that part of the track was missing. There's, even some people who've just kind of slowly like walked across it, and that works too. It's amazing.
It's I love it. I really, really love it. And that's the hallmark. This is new Zelda. It is, if you get there, you got there. And we're not going to say shit. We are not going to say anything. If you figured it out, you figure it out. If you did something incredibly dumb to figure it out, who are we to judge? And I love that.
And it is so surprising that, we've seen some games take lessons from Breath of the Wild for sure. It still feels like there hasn't been a whole lot of that being infused in other games.
I
like
think
if you
it's scary.
It's scary. Like if you play a prestige like Sony game still, it is very clear what areas of that map like are supposed to be able to climb. Or we still do things like this. The stuff you can climb is highlighted in yellow, and there's obviously advantages to that. You can make this more scripted experience, and for something like a God of War, it works. But I am surprised we still haven't seen more games trying this level of just everything is fair play.
Yeah, I think it was the safe bet, and I think the fork in the road really was Far Cry 2. Ubisoft, this big publisher, had it. They had it. They had a game that easily could have turned into like a Breath of the Wild in terms of world interactions and mechanics and systems and the world working in ways that you would expect it to work, to the point where, you know, you could shoot a branch on a tree and the tree's just going to break right there where you're shooting it. And then you know, they had Far Cry 2, and they're like, okay, we're going to make Far Cry 3. Where are we going to double down? And they didn't realize like what was really connecting with their players. Like, you know, it's this open world game. We're going to make Skyrim with guns, and we're going to kind of scale back and make it the map barf games. That became the thing. And that was that they think that's what people want. And for a big portion of the audience, they were right. It was a safe bet.
We got a million games like Far Cry 3. We still get games that are basically just Far Cry 3. Far Cry 3 is like low key one of the most influential games that nobody gives it that credit for, probably because we're all kind of mad at it for doing it, I suppose.
Right. Well, because I mean, the alternative was going to be a bunch of other games that are much more like Breath of the Wild, which is, it's like, we should have got both, and we only got really one until Nintendo kind of came around and showed that this is the way to get 30 million sales instead of 15 million sales when you're a multi-platform game. So there was some hard lessons not learned in that generation, and I think this second game in a row doing this is going to really hit home that, okay, yeah, obviously Sony's going to keep making Sony games, but maybe they should be looking at something a lot more like Breath of the Wild as well.
Like, wouldn't some of this stuff really help something like an Assassin's Creed, especially if you're going to have like 3,000 people working on it?
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. Giggy says, how good of a mood and setup is that intro segment? Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really got me going. It really got me like into the story.
All right. Tears of the Turbo wrote a lot here. I'm not reading all of that, but if I had to put my thoughts of the game so far into 2 words, they would be happily overwhelmed. First, I want to say that I never played Breath of the Wild. Wow. The game I kept telling myself I would get to, but never did. So if anything, I did also say release that game, oh well. But after playing all weekend, I still haven't touched the main story since getting the paraglider. I've just been exploring the surface and doing tests as I find them, whether it's a shrine, hoping that dude keep his signs up. He's having a lot of fun. Anytime I felt like I saw something interesting in this world, I stumbled upon a new town, cave, or even well that entices me more. Thinking about not only all the side stuff, but the main story things I haven't even started yet is a lot of, but I'm excited to go to them later. Not playing Breath of the Wild probably hurt me a bit because I've met so many people who are so happy to see me that I have no idea who they are. Law. Yeah. Something he's not really controlling is the controls of the Ultra Hand. So I will say at first I thought that Ultra Hand was pretty clunky, and not clunky, but I didn't like the way you turned things, where instead of just it was free turning, it kind of snapped and then went in 45-degree angles. But I eventually kind of gelled with it, and I understood what was happening there. So I got it eventually, and I think it does work. But for a second, I was kind of frustrated. I couldn't just more freeform turn it around and stuff like that. Once I understood how it snaps, though, and the ways to kind of turn it, I'm basically able to control it.
Yeah, it was a pretty quick learning curve for me. It was steep but fast. It was like like it does kind of like, oh, you're gonna have to learn the way this is gonna work. But then you learn. It snaps in certain places. You want to adjust things so that they are first oriented like vertically correctly, and then you're going to turn it on that axis, and that's the order you should do it in. And then when you want to do more refined movements, you move Link instead of moving the object. And it's like, okay,
exactly.
All right, that's easy enough. I figured it out, and now 0 problems with it. It's actually surprised. I'm surprised how well I got over those cumbersome controls.
I mean, it's this hard thing, right? Like, how do you have a third-person action game that you're also able to like build things in this
I think
full
it's
world?
this. I think that the way that they did it is actually the correct way to do it.
In conclusion, even with the control issues and only scratching the surface of what the game contains, I know this game is going to be amazing and one of the most memorable game experiences ever. That's pretty interesting perspective of someone who didn't play Breath of the Wild. There probably aren't too many of those, so that's neat to hear. Nick,
yeah, like
thank you. Wong Gift says, hey, Mike, Midnight, Minotti, and Jeff, Midnight, I have kids, Grubb. I'm enjoying this one a lot more than Breath of the Wild. The world feels less empty. There are more interesting things in the nooks and crannies among the Breath of the Wild staples of shrines, seeds, and moblin camps. Still some issues. Combat still feels actively discouraged, as the rewards usually aren't worth the loss of weapons. And the total lack of accessibility options, key remapping, colorblind options, there aren't even any sound options, is a major L for Nintendo, in that their Anuma acknowledged that they were important a while back. It definitely did fill the world out more, and that's another thing I think we'll eventually hear from some people. Like, there's something to that empty world. I do think there is.
There is.
I also think there's something to this bit more of a vibrant world. And
absolutely. I'm glad we have both.
Yeah, I'm glad we have both. I'm glad that we have that as a distinct a distinguishing feature of these
Me
two
too.
games.
I think that these things complement each other very well.
Clink says, when I first played Breath of the Wild, I thought it was a 4 out of 5, pretty good proof of concept for the next game to improve on. So far, I stand by that. Tears of the Kingdom is a better game. That said, I'm still not a fan of a number of mechanics that have been included. But I like the story direction and the systems. I don't like I'm willing to say have at least been improved. I see where I land once I get further in, but overall it seems like there is a lot of sandbox potential for messing around with. That said, I'm still not sure this kind of sandbox is what I'm looking for in a Zelda game. So even someone like Clink, who like wasn't a big Breath of the Wild guy and isn't super hot on this, still says he likes it more than Breath of the Wild, which is interesting. There are going to be some people I think are just really want to have another Ocarina of Time. And
Oh yeah, I think that was that 6 out of 10 reviews, but no, I don't know if they said we want another Ocarina of Time, but it was I didn't like what Breath of the Wild was doing, and this is fundamentally more of that, and that being not Ocarina of Time. This is the new template. I think that that is absolutely correct. I think they break down Zelda into like a smaller component parts and then build it back up in a way that is different than Ocarina of Time. But I really bristle when anyone says this isn't Zelda or Breath of the Wild wasn't Zelda. Because it very much is.
Right, it is. I mean, it just isn't that format we had for,
right.
a good long while. And that format even kind of almost went back more to Link to the Past for sure.
Yes.
But like, again, if you go to like Zelda 1, and it's like, well, what do you do with that? That's almost the branching. It's like, well, you can, and, Zelda 2 is kind of this outlier. You can go to Link to the Past, or you can sort of do this. And both of them are clearly descended from that original NES Zelda 1 promise.
Yep.
Ed says those mad bastards did it. They made a game that doubles down on what made Breath of the Wild successful while also making it feel more like a traditional Zelda game. Tears of the Kingdom gives me that feeling that Breath of the Wild gives a lot of other people. Only on the first dungeon after doing a lot of shrines and exploring, but I could just feel this game's teeth stuck into me. Alongside the oh my god moments that are from the game itself, I found myself saying, oh my god, how is this running on Switch multiple times? There's so many systems, the Sky Islands in the depths alongside a much busier Hyrule, more NPCs and events. It's crazy. That being said, as much of this game is an advert for the Wizard developers at Nintendo, it also flags up how badly we need new hardware. You can tell this is pushing the Switch to its absolute limit. I can't help but wonder how much they had to sacrifice to get it running to a decent standard. Also would love to be able to play this at a flawless 30 FPS or a smooth 60 FPS if I'm really dreaming. Hope we aren't waiting much longer, but if we are, at least we got a game like Tears of the Kingdom to keep us going. All right, Jeff, let's do our weekly when do we think Switch 2 is coming talk now.
And do you think it launches with a patch for this or some sort of repackage? Yeah, right. Like no duh.
Yeah, I think that'll be
the big thing,
the showpiece.
Yeah, I think so
the
too.
Backwards compatible, at least, right? Is hey, you can play Tears of the Kingdom on this still. Like all your old games are going to work. And by the way, Tears of the Kingdom is going to look this much better.
Yeah,
you can do side by side.
And
it's going to be like this weird thing coming from Nintendo. But Nintendo's weird. They can always do what they're going to do. But when Phil Spencer was talking about how important it was and how much he thinks about how important it was that last generation where people were building the digital game libraries, because now that's just an audience that you can basically keep forever as long as you do smart things like backwards compatibility. There's no way Nintendo's just going to throw that away.
No, they in investor meetings they basically have already said that there's no way they're doing that. They're much more worried about continuity than ever before. Yes,
absolutely. So
I think the Switch 2 is I think it's fall next year, and I think it gets mentioned for the first time at the end of this year, and then I think it has its actual sort of reveal in spring in spring, and then it has the blowout in like September, and then we get it by November.
Anybody who thinks it's this year is crazy. It's not gonna happen.
No one thinks it's this year anymore.
No one really does think that, but yeah,
they basically
they basically said no.
They basically said no. All of the reporting now is after this fiscal year at the earliest. Yeah, that sounds right. But I think we still could hear about it this year.
JD Camp says the real Tears of the Kingdom are from the Koroks being glued. All the death traps I made for their lazy asses. That's incredible.
Can you take the Koroks like across the entire map? Because if you can, I am going to pile every single one of those little shitheads into one thing and just drive them around. I cannot wait.
Bonfire. Just say what you're going to put them into.
I mean, listen, it's not going to be just any bonfire.
It's going to be, I thought about something real problematic that I could have said they're going to be put into that I won't. Somebody's going to do it, though.
Oh, my God, Mike. I think I know exactly what you're going to say. And if it's not, I'm mad at myself for thinking it.
I mean, I feel bad.
Man.
No one can prove what I was thinking. But,
Jesus.
the Zelda Wolf says, I created the law game of the year. This is incredible. He just ultra hand glued all these longs together to cross this giant chasm. It must be like 15, 20 longs.
Oh,
It's
that
like, it's awesome to
rules.
see
My
that.
longest one is like 8 planks long or something right
That's
now.
incredible.
And that felt so insanely like cumbersome and weird.
Oh gosh, this game's so cool. Turbo Sean says Tears of the Kingdom is more Breath of the Wild in the best way, the way sequels should be, simultaneously expanded, improved, and refined in nearly every way. Some changes make it less for me, but are absolutely improvements for the general audience. Ooh, what is this? Jeff Grubb too? Favorite mechanic so far, modifying arrows in so many ways with random attachments. My only real complaint so far is that the tutorial area dragged for a bit. I wish there was somehow, and I've played Breath of the Wild. Please don't make me learn about cold weather by climbing mountain for 30 minutes button. P.S. I'm curious how Mike feels about Evermeans. Oh, the killer apple trees. Yeah, I don't like them. Excuse me, they're scary. I hate when they have apples.
Yeah, they have apples and yeah, they pop out and all of a sudden they're attacking you. I like those enemies in general of like, oh yeah, that's a fun thing to have these trees coming out. There've been like
It's cool.
living that's like a classic enemy, right? The trees that attack you. That was in like
I'm trying to think actually. Were there angry trees in Zelda 1? Was that a thing?
yeah, was it
Maybe you're
Zelda
right.
1? I'm thinking of something like that, but
There's a lot of, we have the 3-headed dragon coming back from Zelda 1.
yeah, I've
obviously,
seen
with
one
the-
in the distance and I've been
I've
too
seen one.
afraid. Yeah,
And I was
Enemy
exactly-
Mouse.
it's
Yeah, I'm
like-
thinking of Kirby. That's right.
Oh, I was like, I have 5 hearts. I do not think I'm able to do this.
Yeah, I did.
No
I did a
way.
Lionel with 5 hearts, and that was like
Whoa.
it took forever.
I haven't thought about fighting Lionels yet. X-Core says it's super impressive how big the game is and how well it runs on dated handheld hardware. I'm probably closing in on 50 hours and I still can't put it down. Every new power feels like it could be a gimmick for an individual game. They work really well together as a whole. That's like almost the more interesting question for the next game. Because, I mean, this Ultra Hand thing, so much time went into developing this. Do you really just not use that again? Ultra Hand itself was a sort of an improvement and extension of Magnet from the last
Yeah.
game. Are you really going to do something completely different mechanic-wise for the next one? What could that even
I don't
be?
think they do something completely different, but I think there's a major spin in the same way that Ultra Hand is a major spin on what came before it. Yeah.
And then let's see. Always be Corgi says every day there's a clip on Twitter that makes my jaw drop and go, I never would have thought of it. Game has an incredible amount of depth in the systems, and I'm having a ton of fun exploring. Real Skyrim wandering feel. I do love that social element because, like, I'm not gonna bother making an orbital sky laser. I'm not gonna make some of these like giant like robot mech things. I like watching other people make them and seeing like
Yep.
them do their things. That's for sure.
I agree.
MN Goldie says, I can explore without getting shot by precision shooting tanks. I like the story. Right now, I like it better than Breath of the Wild. Also, am I the only person who thinks the enemies hit harder? I feel like I could take more hits with 3 hearts in Breath of the Wild compared to the 4 you
there's
have after the
Definitely
tutorial.
some tough enemies out there.
I did think that. I did think I was getting hit
I think
harder,
it's
which is, again,
good
go
though.
do shrines.
I think it's like punishing in the right way.
Yeah. It is like,
I've
hey,
died a lot, and I don't think it's too much. I don't think I've died too many times by any means.
No, exactly. Yeah, I want to die a little bit. I want the world to fight back.
Exactly.
Especially because, I mean, if it was easy, then you wouldn't interact with the world in any way aside from just whacking things with a sword, right?
Yeah, totally. I do think I maybe wish the enemies telegraph their attacks a little bit more, or alternatively, I could just get good and actually
could
learn
get
their.
good,
I could just
actually.
get good. I think that's probably the bigger thing.
I don't miss, like, the Guardians is another thing I'm glad isn't back. They were really cool in the last one, but it is actually, yeah, it is nice that you don't have to worry about those orbital lasers or
Yeah.
whatever they have as much. And just aesthetically, it's a little different. And
Yeah.
it makes sense. This is a little bit afterwards. They took care of that problem. And then let's see, last one here is from DMC. Depressed Me Crying says, with Jeff approving the Microsoft Activision deal out of spite for Britain Grubb and Mike, Northern Ireland will leave Britain and reunify with Ireland so they can get Call of Duty on Game Pass. Minotti. He said hello to us. I don't know why I said with Jeff. He said hello, Jeff. As someone with severe ADHD and a seemingly permanent Adderall shortage, this game is dangerous. Hours melt by unnoticed as I run from one waypoint to another. It's my first night of accidentally playing until 4 a.m. I had to set an alarm to stop at an appropriate hour. This game clicks with my brain so well. The same feeling I got playing Wind Waker as a kid. Also, you can build this. And yes, It is the fire penis. That's incredible. It looks like the plank from Ed, Edd and Eddie.
Yeah, it
with the
does.
penis
I
and
love
legs.
that. It's big dumb face. Uh,
Yeah.
A couple other thoughts about this, Mike. I know we talked about the music a little bit. A lot of the music is back. I think I like that, even though I think maybe part of me is like, oh, it's disappointing. This is the same song. It is there. It's used so much more in this game that it still feels new. Because you're right, they held back a lot on the music in Breath of the Wild. And here I got to the village in the northwest, and they were playing that familiar tune that is like related to the people that live there, and it's
Right.
I
So
don't
they play
know.
Dragon Roost Island, and people know it's the Rito there. And they played that Dragon Roost Island song from Wind Waker, which was also for the Rito in Wind Waker. And but even here though, it's like a little bit different because there's something going on over there, and I loved that. I marked
Yeah,
out
it's
for
so
it.
good. And then
Right.
the music overall is I think there's just more of it, and
Right.
and that's
that boss
fantastic.
battle song was great. Like that's like in all I played Breath of the Wild, and I liked it, and I liked the music in that game. I never really sought out the music to listen to my own. I want to find that boss track later. I don't want to look it up now because I'm worried I'm going to find a spoiler. But like I want to just listen to that some more. It's great. All right, so that's that. And then Jeff, I don't think we have anything else to talk about in terms of what we've been playing because it's been Tears of the Kingdom. But we got some more
Tears of the
super
Kingdom.
chats.
Yeah.
So why don't we read those before we start wrapping up here? So last call for those, everyone. And thanks again so much for sending those. A lot of you watching today, a lot of thumbs up, a lot of super chats.
Yeah,
We
thanks,
really
everybody.
appreciate it.
All right, let me see where I left off. From Jason Fulton. Any book recommendation on Nintendo's corporate culture / development culture? Tears of the Kingdom has made me curious to learn more. Loving Tears of the Kingdom so far. Haven't done Dungeons. I know that Jason, someone recommended to you to read Askawada. That's what I was going to say, but you said you already read that. I don't know beyond that, and I'm also
was Reggie's
curious.
book a good insight? I didn't.
I don't
read
know. I
Reggie's
haven't read
book.
it. That's a good idea. Maybe
Yeah.
that, but that's got to be Nintendo of America, and
Right. I think a lot of it is actually going to be more Nintendo of America. I think it's a pretty tight ship they run over at
Yeah.
Nintendo of Japan. But, for Nintendo America, also Console War gives you some insight. Even though that's very Sega-centric, you still get some idea of what was going on in Nintendo at that time.
Yep.
But, yeah. I think probably nothing amazing, actually. I would like to know more
yeah,
about
if
that.
if anyone finds any good books or has any good recommendations, maybe let's pop it in the Discord and ping me at me with that, because I would like to read some of those books as well. From Antonioni, have you tried to go back to the depths? Oh, I think you read
I
this
did
one.
that. This is the one I skipped ahead and read. Sorry.
No worries. T Bucket 23, to make the Zelda / Wallace and Gromit talk come full circle. Excuse me. Did you know Aardman made Zelda shorts using Flipnote on DSi? And I do remember that. I
don't remember that, actually.
Yeah.
That's cool, though.
I really like Wallace and Gromit. My kids got into it when they were younger, and it was a lot of fun. It's a good show.
I liked Wallace and Gromit as a kid, although I think I never saw that like one movie they made that
That's
was
good.
newer, The Were Rabbit.
Oh yeah, it's
Like
very
I
good.
saw the wrong shorts, the one they go to the moon, the one with the sheep. I saw those.
Let's see. From Alex, Tears of the Kingdom is easily one of the best games I've ever played. I played it for a whole 8-hour flight, achieved nothing, and had the best time. Yeah, I think that's actually maybe where this game shines, where if you are kind of really accomplishing nothing, like accomplishing anything in terms of like getting nearer to the end of the game, you're probably still doing something that's a ton of fun. And I think that's a real hallmark of a good game. Here's another one. El Grug, a dragon just came out of a chasm and I rode it.
Oh, cool.
Holy shit. Okay, let's fucking
That
go.
sounds fun.
Yeah,
Let's go.
let's fucking go. I want to try that myself. All right, cool. Listen, every time we talk about this game, really what I want to be doing is playing it, Mike. So maybe we should start wrapping up.
Yeah, absolutely. Although you made me think, my 5-year-old nephew really likes. It's some group of people who like Dude Awesome, I think, or whatever. and, yeah.
Dude Perfect.
Dude Perfect. He likes Dude Perfect a lot, so he's always screaming, "Let's go!"
It's Oh,
funny.
that's why kids scream "Let's go."
That's why,
Okay.
because of Dude Perfect.
Dude Perfect.
Like, I think they like travel.
They
They,
have a
do a
yes.
show.
They have a
I think he's
live
going to
show.
that at some
Yes.
point. Yeah, like kids love Dude Perfect, which is very funny. All right, yeah, let's start going. You want to play some music for me, Jeff?
I do.
Well, I can't hear it, but oh, there it is. Well,
It might be cutting out. I don't know.
oh yeah, I hear it. I thought it was different for a little bit. So, hey, thanks for listening, everybody. Hey, we're doing Connectivity Compadres are riding again tomorrow for Sword Fiesta.
Yes.
It's been a little bit of a break because of some conflicting schedules, but we're going back into that with Jan and Dan. So check that out tomorrow on Giant Bomb. What time is that at? 2 Eastern?
I think we're doing it 2:30. We're doing one of them at 2:30 because I think Dan's got a big new important meeting that came out of the result of us having that meeting in New York, where we accomplished a lot and figured out a lot of stuff.
Can't believe you're going to be giving me even more money. Thank you. And yeah, Thursday, Robo Mitch. Later on Thursday, Game S Decides. We're going to figure out our topics for that after we get offline here. So we'll have a good time. Hey, thanks everybody.
Join the Discord.
Been a lot of fun lately.
Discord.tv/GameMess.
Game S, Patreon.com/GameS.
Bye, everybody.
Come on, go cruising, cruising. Come on, go cruising. Let's go cruising. Let's go cruising. Let's go cruising. Come on, let's go cruising.
Is Dan a sissy baka?